With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
PRL doubleheader of GT3 action makes its way to the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, where, as we head into the closing stages of the season, a chaotic Atlanta roller coaster awaits. Hello everyone, delighted to have you along once again on RaceSpotTV, where my name is Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside as ever by the one, the only Joey Tebben. Don't forget you can follow along with live timing and scoring by heading to RaceSpot.tv/timing2 across both today's races. Joey, it's been an interesting first half of the season, and now in the back half of the campaign, boy, is it going to be a wild August. But here at Road Atlanta, 35 minutes about to be thrown onto the clock. What do we expect in the GT3 Fix Series?
Well, we've since buried Zolder in the past. We can forget that ever happened, and now we can move on to the last 4 races of the season. Some old classic racing at Road Atlanta, known as Hot Atlanta to some people. Very much not the case with a very cold track temp today. It's more like Cold Atlanta. And then after we get done with this, it gets a little bit crazy to end the season with Barcelona, Le Mans, Phillip Island. Some tracks more suited to GT3 than others. Some tracks with more popularity than others. It's going to be a very, very up and down, different way to end the season, and you got to master all sorts of types of tracks.
This is a track where plenty of drivers will have experience courtesy of the iRacing Petit Le Mans. Of course, some of them will have that experience in prototype machines rather than the GT3s. Here's a look at the championship standings though very quickly. And it's Errol Urexo who is starting to build that advantage at the front. 2 wins to his name, 11 points the margin behind, and with Eric Hulaga and Greg Doucette tied on 232 points apiece. Only 4 points back to Steven Martinez. Yes, Urexo has built the advantage. How long is it going to last though, Joey? And what has been a crazy season, he's got 4 top 5s, the most of anyone.
It's just kind of insane to me, though, that he only has an 11-point lead in the championship. It seems like he's been the guy all season. It seems like he's been untouchable, and yet Greg Doucette and Eric Kulaga are within very, very close touching distance. Even Steven Martinez has been exceptionally consistent as well. Ray Dominguez has had a lot of speed. He's just had some bad luck, especially last week. Very bad finish and crash, I believe, if I remember correctly, or actually an internet issue that got him out of the race. 4 races to go. He's going to need some big results and hope that Urexoy runs into more bad luck, which could very well happen. There's some crazy tracks coming up and things could even out.
Yep, going to watch for some of those fights behind as well. Plenty of drivers will want to end the season on a high. In the team championship, it's Vulture Motorsports South that continue to be on a high, and the points advantage still continues to be just over 100 points. SRT Esport Green still more focused behind, with SGE Esports, the second of the Vulture Motorsports, the North crew sitting in 4th, and they'll throttle Thursday in the top 5. In this championship, you can enter with 3 drivers, but Joey, to get 3 towards the front is very, very difficult. Only Vulture Motorsport South have 2 drivers inside the top 10.
And that's why you kind of spread your net wide. That's why you want as many drivers as possible. If you only have a 2-driver team, if you have 1 bad race within those 2 drivers, you're taking the L on the points there. You're taking a big hit. If you have 3 drivers, though, you have a little bit of wiggle room. You can have 1 driver have a bad race, have 2 drivers have a good race, and you don't lose anything in the team's championship. That's why teams like Vulture Motorsports, SGE, SRT, they've got big lineups, they've got lots of drivers, and they've got margin for error. So eventually they're going to end up on top.
And so let's talk about this Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, because we're just about, 45 minutes northeast of Atlanta itself, but nestled into the heart is an up and down sort of carved roads course track. Don Panos went over to Le Mans. He wanted to bring a taste of that over to the US, and boy, Joey, did he do so.
He certainly did. It's fast, it's flowing, it's exceptionally difficult, especially coming down the hill in those S's. Big curbs, big speeds, no margin for error. It's one of the great road courses of the world, if not just the United States. But I think what would be especially crazy if we go just outside the precipice of this map here, go across the street to Lanier. Let's put some GT3 traffic on there.
Are you suggesting things for our PRL All-Star race?
Maybe one day.
You are crazy, but I mean, everyone already knew that. With the cars out there for their 20-minute open qualifying session, draft here at Road Atlanta going to be interesting to see how it plays out. It's time to thank those that make all of this coverage possible, starting with Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRO members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit RaceSpotTV.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision5 coupon code. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Mecha Sim Hardware is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you are looking for a high-end pedal set, handbrake, or sequential shifter, visit Mecha Sim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. And new for this season, Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. Don't forget as well, sign-ups for Precision Racing League returning drivers. 2023 Season 4 already underway. New drivers can make their names known this coming weekend. And Joey, you've been competing in the Xfinity Series this past season. What are you thinking about for Season 4?
I'm thinking, well, I'm not thinking. I already have re-signed up for the Xfinity Series.
There we go.
4, so I'll be back to that. I hope Ewan O'Leary signs up for this series again. I don't know if that's going to happen, because he's definitely interested in getting his bedtimes down. And RaceSpot's own not in the field tonight, unfortunately, but he'll be back. He's got to keep the commentator streak up.
Fair. No, he probably, after last night's appearance in the LMP3 GT4 festivities, which I heard were quite spectacular, drained himself out. It does mean, though, with 4 minutes left to go, 37 cars out there, well, not all on track, but all in the session. It's Urexoy that sits on top, and by more than 0.2 of a second, which with a lap time of 1:18 is not an inconsiderable margin.
It's not an inconsiderable margin, and you see some guys who haven't won a race yet this season. Jared Keane has been very, very fast, has had some bad luck, has had some incidents, so he hasn't had the chance to really compete up front in a couple weeks, but this would be a great start for him. Andre Bonatti hasn't won yet this season. Rodrigo Morales, his teammate, has also not been as consistent this season as we would expect, so he's going to be looking for a big result tonight. But Aero Urexoy, he knows that gap in the championship is falling down a little bit, needs to put another statement up like he did last week, winning at Zolder. So he brings it across the line, no improvement there, but he also didn't have much help from the draft, so no improvement from him, still 3/10 down.
Yeah, the question though really is how much will the draft help you at a track like this? Down that straightaway, it will all depend on the fixed setup. Jared Keane also, no improvement for him. One thing that I noted just before we went live were the conditions that these drivers are dealing with here today. They're pretty optimal in terms of grip, pretty cold in terms of what we see traditionally on iRacing.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's not hot Lana tonight. It's cold Lana. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable for the drivers. They're very, very happy right now. They're going to have tons of grip, which is exactly what you need at Road Atlanta. And it's just a beautiful day to be in Georgia. It's getting into the starting hours of the night. We're getting deep into the evening, 7:17 p.m. Virtual Standard Time. It's not going to be dark by the end of the race, but it's going to get even cooler, I think, as the sun continues to set, and there's a lot of cloud cover as well.
There is plenty of cloud cover tonight, and I say tonight because we are heading off into the evening. Going to be curious if those headlights do come into play. It's going to be Dominguez that's up to second within a tenth of Urexoy, but down through the final couple of corners. Less than 2 minutes now to go, maybe 2 more laps for Urexoy to work. He's going to find half a tenth of a second, but he extends the margin at the front and again lays down a new benchmark for the likes of Jared Keane to try and match.
And you're only going to get it faster over the course of the run here. The tires aren't necessarily going to be wearing much with these cool conditions. The fuel is going to be making these cars lighter and lighter with every lap. Your best lap might come at the end of this session. Oliver Pettit across the line, not a real lap for him there. That was a setup lap.
Is it Pettit and not
It is Pettit.
Okay.
I believe he raced in the MX-5s a couple of seasons ago. You would want to say it Frenchly. You would want to call him Olivier Petit, but no, it's Oliver Pettit.
Okay, well there we go. I had to ask. So I think plenty of drivers cycling on to what will be their final laps here in this qualifying session. I wasn't sure if Oliver was new to the field or not, but as less than 60 seconds to go, I am actually quite shocked. Urexoy's down on pit lane. Dominguez shows no improvement. Jared Keane's in pit lane, and Felix Feliz is in the wall.
Whoa, don't do that. Backs it into the middle of the track. I feel like we've seen that a couple times over the past couple of nights here on RaceSpotTV. Eventually gets out of the way, and may have checked up a couple of people there. Dale Peterson, Joachim Backer, not going to be too happy. Steven Martinez, no improvement from him. He's going to be very disappointed with the 21st place, but he's always a driver who kind of climbs his way up through the field without much fanfare, so we'll see him move up the field, I think.
Yep, 21st place for him, 21 car in 35th position. A little further back in checkered flag, going to fly for many, but Kulaga second in the championship, now only 9th, and that's going to be him done and dusted. He'll have some work to do. That Ford, I think, going to be a bit of a handful through the traffic. Greg Doucette to the line. Well, I'm not sure if that was a valid lap time, to be honest, and he's done for the session as well.
And that's an unbelievable qualifying for him as well.
Right.
29th place. What's he doing down there? He's got to move his way forward. Ryan Chandler, 26th right now. He's going to be disappointed. Or should I say the member of the family, Ryan Chandler.
Oh,
there is kind of a forgotten son, Ryan Chandler, and Selly Saad's trying to go to Lanier.
It's not a bad point. That is the correct direction to go in as well. Now, I think that is basically qualifying done and dusted. I think some cars are just going to practice potentially pit entries. Dale Peterson does find some improvement. He's up to 18th spot, but there are plenty of surprises in this qualifying session. Not just Greg Doucette down in the field, but we are going to see, I think, plenty of contenders trying to work their way on forward. Jason Finch is going to try and cycle his way around. David Morse might be the final car that has a chance to set a lap time, but he immediately runs off the track and now slides his way down what is a tricky pit entry.
A little bit of Road Atlanta rallycross there, no big deal. But yeah, I think that was the last driver legitimately on a lap time, and it's the two titans of qualifying so far this season. Aero Urexoy and Ray Dominguez up front. Multiple poles each, multiple wins each. Jared Keane's hoping that maybe the Titans clash for the first time this season and open up the door for him.
So a couple of crucial things to remember when it comes to this track. We looked at the track map slightly earlier. We're looking at that complex of turn 6 and 7. 6 is cambered in. You can carry plenty of speed into 7. But turn 7's tighter than 90 degrees, Joey. It's deceptive, and getting a good run out of it is so important because, well, it's really the primary passing opportunity.
It's exceptionally important, and if you've ever figured out how to get an exit out of turn 7 properly, I'd like to hear about it, because I don't think I've ever done that once.
I have. I've been an Adam Blocker in an American open wheel race here before.
Wow, I think I've thrown myself in a wall here multiple times.
I mean, I've done that too. We've all done that, to be fair.
And turn 8 and 9, those aren't corners, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, you're going to set me off, aren't you?
They're not corners at all. Even in a bike, you're not going to be turning there. And then you get to turn 10. Between turn 7 and turn 10, there's 0 corners. I don't know how that mathematically works.
Well, yeah. Corner numbers are just a suggestion at the end of the day, is the way that I have started to think about it. We are ready to go, though, here. In the second half of the season, Errol Rexoy continues to lead the way in the championship, and for the 3rd time this season, he will bring us to the green. It's a 1:18.098, and it's almost 1.5 tenths clear of Ray Dominguez, who gets the pace in qualifying. Now we'll hope for a little bit of luck and for technical things to go his way. Jared Keane, and then the first of the We Race Esports Porsches, Andre Benatti on the outside of row 2, while Rodrigo Morales and John Jones share row 3. Dominguez, the only non-Porsche up there in the front 3 rows, and Nicholas Carangis also in a BMW, sees Brett Pancari alongside to break the streak. Eric Kulaga's Ford, second in the championship, some work to do, almost half a second off in qualifying, while Matt Arnold's got a new paint scheme. We'll talk more about that, I'm sure, throughout the course of the race. Peter Moller, Jochen Bakker, 11th and 12th positions, while from hopefully not unlucky 13th, Sully Saar. Jason Finch will be on the outside of row 7 with Felix Felice and Roy Brown on row number 8. 17th for Matt Dinsmore, it's 18th for Dale Peterson, while bookending your top 20, Michael Fowler and then Oliver Pettit. Michael Kulaga and Steven Martinez in the Vulture Motorsport South contingent have some work to do on row 11, while Jason Bridges and Jeff Carollo 23rd and 24th. Big change for Carollo in that Audi to go from the front of the field a week ago in qualifying, now on the outside of row 12. Christopher Rines, Ryan Chandler 25th and 26th, with Matt Schossler and then Waldo Walden 27th and 28th. Greg Doucette's got a lot of work from 29th, but he'll roll with Sean Mulholland inside of the top 30. Ryan Chandler, with just one N, is in 31st. Glenn Vanko 32nd. Dallas Sullivan, Alan Dice, David Morse, Nicholas Herrera making up the rest of the top 36. And then Jack Stevenson is at the very back of the field. Well, I blew through the grid, and then I forgot that they've got a full formation lap with which to work here, Joey, so there's plenty of time for us to discuss what we expect. 35 minutes, all drivers likely, of course, to make pit stops around the 15 to 10 minute marker left in this race. Errol Rexoy and Ray Dominguez on the front row. It might be an interesting scrap at the front.
For all the hyping up we do of Road Atlanta, it is an all-time classic. It's a fantastic place to lap. It's a fantastic place to drive. It is difficult to overtake with all the high-speed corners. There's only a few heavy braking zones where you're really 100% safe to go for a move, and even then it's always difficult. So for anybody behind you, Rexoy and Dominguez, basically, they're thinking, we need to get aggressive early, we need to get track position early, and then we have to start thinking about strategy with that pit stop coming around. Can you get out of traffic? Can you find some clean track and not get caught up in traffic after the pit stop? And how can you beat those guys up front if it's going to be difficult to pass on track?
Eric Kulaga does have, I think, a task on his hand to make sure that Errol Rexoy doesn't build the championship advantage. Greg Doucette has it even tougher from all the way back in 29th position.
He'll be seeing all the drama ahead of him at the very least, but he's not all the way at the back of the field. He's not starting last necessarily. He's in kind of that limbo of 30th place or so. That's when we see a lot of checkups on lap 1. That's when we definitely see incidents on lap 1. He's hoping that the Throttle Thursday entry can survive through some of that chaos and hope that he's not caught up in somebody else's trouble like it seems so many times happened to him a couple seasons ago.
Man, look at on board with Jochen Bakker. Matt Arnold's new paint scheme. From the back, you're not necessarily going to see too much. If you look from in front, though, that's the wrong car to look from. Oh, there's the Rexy nose.
There it is. I mean, I'm going to miss the very, very easy to differentiate purple that Matt Arnold ran over the past couple of weeks. There's kind of a lot of green Porsches in the field. It'd be hard to differentiate, but I can't be mad at the dinosaur. I can't be mad at the Rex he knows. You never can. It's not possible.
Who comes out on top then, Joey? 35 minutes from now.
I say the boring choice is Urexoy. The exciting choice is Jared Keane. I'm going with the boring choice. I think Errol's going to get it done again.
No confidence in Ray Dominguez.
He'll be up there. He'll finish second. Don't worry.
Well, pace car off and away, and Errol Urexoy doesn't hang about, and now we'll check the field up. Contact between Urexoy and Dominguez. What's this gonna lead to? 3 wide across the line, and there's the drama. Kulaga gets mixed up in it. It's horrendous, but say goodbye to Ray Dominguez.
I mean, that's what I get for not writing him in here, but that was kind of stupid on the start there. Urexoy got a big jump and then checked up the entire field. Dominguez blew around the outside of him. I don't know if he's going to get a penalty. Jared Keane ended up to the inside of him. That was just a messy start all around, and there's going to be some very, very unhappy drivers. John Jones kind of destroyed before turn 1 even came. Kulaga's done already. That's a big hit for some championship contenders like Kulaga.
I mean, let's be honest, it was pretty ridiculous to go that early, then get so scared that you check up that much. Urexoy, I think, gets away with it, all things considered, only second, half a second back from Dominguez. The question now will be, what happens from here? I see Reagan Chandler watching on in the chat, by the way, as there's drama at turn 7, and Jason Finch is headed back to pit lane.
Yeah, he was in the middle of traffic there, so understandably kind of pulls out, makes sure he isn't stuck in the middle of the road there. Lots of calamity, though. He joins the fray of Jeff Carollo, Ryan Chandler, Mercedes Ryan Chandler was involved in that on lap 1, John Jones, Pancari, a few others. Lots of cars involved, but here's what happened to Jason Finch first and foremost. That one's pretty straightforward, just too much speed.
Yep, and all by himself, and I think then realized better just to get out of the way and not cause any further drama, given that we've already had 5 other cars back on pit lane. I don't even know how we can actually look at replays that make sense on this start, because it was just the levels of checkup that we had all led to it. Ultimately, probably looking from up above is maybe the only way that we're going to get to see the full picture, but we'll get some replays hopefully in a few moments' time. It is still Dominguez that leads, Urexoy, Keane, Bernardi behind, and if you look at the left side of your screen and you look at the positions gained, a lot of green at the front, a lot of red down the back.
It's pretty crazy. It's almost like there was a crash for 6th and 7th in the middle of the field, and there certainly was. A lot of heavy hitters taken out, and that's a big opportunity for quite a few drivers who started deeper in the field to kind of steal an upset result here. I think Greg Doucette did make it through. Remember, he started 26th or 29th. He's up to 18th. Felix Feliz up many spots. Matt Dinsmore up into the top 10. It's been a good day for Throttle Thursday so far. As I say that, he falls out of the top 10, but it's better than where they started.
Yeah, that is Greg Doucette, though, championship contending car. Matt Dinsmore's not having it, though. He's back up into 10th position with a big send. Oliver Pettit's going to be on the outside as we plunge down the hill under that Fox Factory bridge. He's going to hold off Steven Martinez as he tucks back into line in that 53 for Vulture Motorsports. But you said it's difficult to pass here, yes, but it is one of those tracks where it's a lot of fun to fight at.
And one mistake, and it's very easy to get by because it's such a rhythm-focused track, especially the S's here. It's so focused on rhythm that if you make one tiny bobble, you're going to be screwed up for the entirety of this section, and you're not going to be catching it or getting back in the throttle again until you're out of turn 7 here. So have to make sure to keep it absolutely perfect. Oliver Pettit, 3rd in line there in the blue and white and pink Ferrari to the outside of Matt Arnold. Pettit's racing from Australia, I believe, so I don't know if it's the middle of the night or the middle of the day for him, but either way, very different from everybody else in the field. I don't know if that's an advantage or not.
It is about 10:51 in Canberra. It is 7:51, or 8:51, excuse me, in Perth. So it's not too bad for an Australian, although potentially sneaking in some racing in between the workday.
Racing for breakfast?
Racing.
Little bit of brekkie, no big deal.
That's not a bad option, I would say. Jochen Backer in front of Rodrigo Morales, and now Ray Dominguez comes down to pit lane. Did Ray Dominguez get a black flag courtesy of the jump start from Errol Urexoy?
I think so.
That's brutal.
That is brutal. He's not going to pit here, I don't think. I think that is what happened. He passed him before the line. You can see not happy about it because I think he knows that that was a funky start, and whether he made the right decision or not to go by there, I don't know, but he's going to stop in his box, and I think it's going to be a stop and go.
Oh, it's a bit longer than you'd expect. Oh, head in hand, frustration there. We'll see what we'll see if Dominguez can give us an update from his side. Here's the replay though. Early jump from Urexoy before the pace car had even truly gotten away. And so at this point, Dominguez is in front. He's done it on the wrong side, you'd have to say. And, well, ultimately it's behind that the chaos and carnage all then ensues.
Yeah, I don't think the green flag was actually out when Dominguez went. So he went too early there, and then they were 4 wide behind. Those John Jones, I think, was the first driver who ended up off the road. This is one of the Team Beef cars coming onto the scene. There's just a huge checkup in front of him. And then it's just chaos. It's just, there's no other word for it. Calamity. Somehow Roy Brown makes it through there. That's incredible, but a lot of drivers not quite so lucky.
Oh, and it continued in the background, didn't it, as well? That was pretty brutal to watch. We'll have to try and see if Jason Finch's perspective initially can get us a bit closer. So the 90 goes off. That's John Jones, and then it's ping-pong effectively from there. Is there ARCA brakes? I don't necessarily think that's the case, if we're being honest. It's just cars that come down a blind corner and don't have much time to react.
It's just a lot of contact, a lot of bouncing off of each other. The only thing that really caused that was the checkup. John Jones went off in the first place there because everybody was checking up in front of him, and he was trying not to get into the back of Benatti and ended up on the grass and spun himself around. That was Ryan Chandler, Mercedes Ryan Chandler as well, clipped the grass trying to avoid people, and was just a passenger at that point.
John Jones says he got a little bit of contact from behind, and maybe that makes some sense. Down through the S's, Glenn Vanco's around. That's not a place you'd expect a Porsche to be pointed in that direction.
I mean, I think that usually just happens when you start to lose it at the top of the S's, and then you're continuing to lose it and continuing to lose it until you're falling down a ski slope, and then eventually you finally trip over if you can't save it.
Well, there's Jochen Bakker now up to third. 9 positions up. Andre Benatti didn't even fight. Must have got a terrible exit out of turn 7, potentially even a slowdown. And before we take a look at what happened to David Morse, before we take a look at what happened to Glenn Vanco, here's what happens to David Morse.
Here we go, Jochen Bakker,
here we go.
Here's David Morse. Here it is, loaded up, and that's just a normal Road Atlanta thing once more. That's a Road Atlanta moment, up over turn 7, carrying too much speed, and just a little bit of a loop-de-loop. Here's what happened to Vanco, loses it once, and then at least he got taken out of his misery early. He wasn't flailing all the way down the hill, just lost it at the worst possible place, and ate a whole big mouthful of concrete wall.
Yep. Not the biggest of the incidents we've seen so far. Ray Dominguez, by the way, sat for 31 seconds. He is back out there in racing, and in 29th spot. We've got Blue Goose Racing. Not sure exactly which driver that is. That says, it was me that started the whole mess. He believes he was behind John Jones, made the contact. I don't think that's necessarily that fair on themselves to say they were the instigator of that, because ultimately, it was what happened even earlier.
Doing some investigative work right now to see who Blue Goose Racing is. I've got one of their live streams up on YouTube. It's Brett Punkari. There we go.
Yep, Brett, I don't think that's your fault necessarily. We'll see what Race Control has to say. I'm glad I am not them. Roy Brown says, focus on me, focus on the fighting, in front of Oliver Pettit.
And these guys are putting on a show here. It's a shame it's only for 11th, but it's still absolutely fantastic. Matt Arnold's cleared them all. He's made his way through the traffic, and now Roy Brown is trying to hold off the Ferrari, making his first start of the season. I do believe, not his first start in the PRL, but his first start of the season. It's a very brightly colored Ferrari. You do have to say that. It's very easy to differentiate from the rest of the field. That teal and pink and white. So that's one way to make your debut. Make sure we see you, and we'll give you some coverage.
Yeah, you're not going to miss that car, that's for sure. Let's take a look at the replay, by the way, because while we were watching these drivers, there was a bit of an interesting moment up through turns 1 and 2. Oh, you could see the 79 really hung out to dry, and then Sully Saad and Felix Felice rubbed doors on the entry into turn 3. Just about hold on to everything, but you can make contact and survive, it turns out.
Yeah, I wouldn't encourage it, but you can do it. It's very exciting, and yeah, that's how you got to make moves here. You get the chance, you get the door open, you have to go for it, because you never know when that's going to happen again. And more often than not, it ends up going a little bit train mode, like it is here in the middle of the field. Steven Martinez has made his way up multiple spots. I believe he started 31st, if I'm not mistaken. He's up 18 spots to P13. It's a huge run forward, and I can't say I'm surprised. He always stays out of trouble.
Yeah, there would be plenty of drivers. Greg Doucette's now up 14 spots because he got past Christopher Rhines, who's now stranded in the middle of the track. He'll pull out of the way, but goodness gracious me, scary moment there.
I just barely saw it at the edge of the screen. I think he got a little bit of contact from potentially Doucette behind. There's a little bit of argy-bargy through the chicane.
Little bit of contact.
Yeah, and then not Doucette getting into him. It was a Mercedes behind who just gets a little bit into the back of him. Well avoided there by Schlosser, and Christopher Rhines once more discovering there's all sorts of concrete walls around here, and none of them are fun to hit.
I believe it would have been Jason Bridges that was the one that made the contact. There's Alan Dice rejoining the track. I think another driver who has gone off and done some rallycross action here at Road Atlanta. They've never actually hosted rallycross as far as I'm aware, but clearly we should make a go of it.
I think we should. I mean, it's kind of ironic as well that Jason Bridges ended up in a crash under the bridge, so we've got rallycross here at Road Atlanta. Maybe we have concrete demolition derby at Road Atlanta.
Oh boy.
There's all sorts of variety we can get here.
Let's not have that, please. We've already had enough cars out. Just to confirm retirees, as Oliver Pettit now officially slides past Steven Martinez, or rather holds off the spot as they continue now to battle for 12th. It is Jason Finch, Nicholas Carangis, Jeff Carolla, Ryan Chandler, that's the two ends, Mercedes Ryan Chandler, John Jones, and then Brett Pancari all out. And that does not include Christopher Rhines, who might very well be out. He's been in pit lane for 90 seconds. Dale Peterson's back out there, as is Eric Kulaga and Ray Dominguez, all having come down the pit lane. 37 started. It's only 27 who have not dived down to the lane, as Oliver Pettit very wide.
Discovering a whole new line through the S's there, but oh dear, Jason Bridges in trouble again. For the cold night here at Road Atlanta, it's a lot slippier than you would expect. A lot of drivers making mistakes. Oliver Pettit, no mistakes from him there through turn 6, holding off Martinez. Well done by him, but he's been a very busy driver. He's had no seconds to rest whatsoever. Neither is Jason Bridges. Let's see what happened to him. Up into the S's, too late in the brakes, and does save it eventually, but not quite as straight pointing as he would like.
It did take a bit of time to get it back in a straight line, didn't it? Alan Dice, well, this is a bit earlier, isn't it, in that number 5. No. Whoa, you don't get much steering when you're on the grass, and now Oliver Pettit's got no steering because he's been turned around, and Porsche's been spun too. I think it's Michael Fowler. Oh, Road Atlanta's proving to be a lot more dramatic than Zolder was.
Yeah, it's proving to be a lot fouler than we expected, I think.
That was just right there for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was there, but poor old Oliver Pettit, he was putting on a show, but eventually, you know, the entertainers, they always end up the worst. Bad luck there. Steven Martinez behind him. There's a little bit of contact between Martinez and Pettit, and then Fowler did nothing wrong. I think he got a little bit of help from potentially Greg Doucette behind, or not Doucette, it was Carangis. No, Carangis is in the pits. It was
Doucette. Yeah, here we go. It's in through... Oh, and that's a big slam from the BMW, who will and then gets further contact, who will hopefully not have too much damage. Doucette is still running in 15th position, but wow. Errol Urexoy still leads, but questions I think will remain until the conclusion of this race, until we make our way on over to Circuit de Barcelona in a week's time as to the status of his points haul. Race control definitely going to take a look at the start. I can already see some conversation going on in the virtual paddock.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a steward's review there by lead driver Stewart Arnaud Genet. It's been somewhat of a controversial season for Errol Urexoy. He's tended to be a clean driver, and he's been driving like a champion this season. But if you remember what happened at Spa, that wasn't entirely his fault, but was still involved there in a big crash on lap 1. And then today, just a little bit of jitters leading the race, and some issues behind. The admins will look at it, but I think Errol's definitely going to be thinking as we move into next season, do I have to clean up a little bit? Because he's a fantastic driver with a lot of speed. Might just have a little bit of training to do. As there goes Muller by, a big bobble from Morales.
Yeah, that was a nervy moment, I think, for a few. And now Morales going to watch as Sully Saad closes in the rearview mirror. It is Porsche through the top 9. Matt Dinsmore, the first non-911 GT3R. And behind him, Kulaga in 12th, Michael Kulaga 12th, Matt Schossler in 13th, then 2 Ferraris running behind them. It's good to have a little bit of diversity because plenty of Porsches were picked this season. For Rodrigo Morales, the concern will be once you've heated up your tires here, it can be very difficult to get them back into a reasonable window, and you can see him struggling a little bit for grip, sliding wide, and Sully Saad closing as they head towards the line.
It's easy to get stuck in the endless cycle here. There's so many high-speed corners, and the straights themselves aren't even that straight. So if you do run into trouble, you've got a lot of work to do to keep them coming down here. I think that's a new livery for Sully Saad, by the way. He's in the Titleist golf ball car now. I do like the dimples on there, but the Lebanese flag sort of livery that he's been running for the past couple seasons, that's been turned into a golf ball now.
I feel like he had this last week, because I remember that.
It's possible, but I don't know. We haven't seen as much of him this season as some other seasons, but I do like it. It's a Seinfeld reference in a way. A Titleist.
He's one that used to compete as well a lot in the Audi, right? So, and of course, he's had to switch the car because, as Jeff Carollo has unfortunately shown us, it's not always a consistent front runner in terms of the BOP. But he enjoys the car, continues to drive it, and so I always enjoy seeing drivers that do so. 2 Ferraris now drawing each other off the back of the top 10. Matt Schossler in front of Michael Kulager, but now being closed by Greg Doucette.
You did get it right the first time, by the way, Schlosser, and this is his debut this season as well. So him and Oliver Pettit both making their debut in those Ferraris this season, and something that's very interesting about Matt Schlosser there is that's a red Ferrari, Arjuna. That should be normal, but I feel like we never see that anymore, and we've got a red Ferrari back in GT3 fixed, and I hope it stays that way.
Surprise rotors. Now, who is that? It's a very simple livery, but it works.
It's got the Maryland flag on there as well, so maybe we've got a Maryland driver in here. Yeah, Sunrise Motors. You'll see as it goes through turn 1. There it is. It's a controversial flag, but I'm a big fan.
Sunrise... Well, it would help if I could spell things correctly into the Google. Sunrise Motors. There's some advertising going on there, making sure maximum focus is on the sponsor rather than all the crazy designs. I'm sure when I was a team manager giving feedback or input to my livery designer, some of my quote-unquote sponsors would have liked that touch.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of monochrome cars all the time. Just one color, maybe
Really?
2 colors. You have a little bit of extra color with the sponsorship, but I am a big fan of just, a red car with white logos.
But it just looks like a road car with stickers slapped on it, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Nah.
There's all these designs, no offense to the teams who do go all out, like Vulture Motorsports, they've got a whole team.
Look at Greg Doucette.
Yeah, Greg Doucette, that's the Dazzle camo of Throttle Thursday. I do like that one as well. It's very easily differentiable, but sometimes simple, it's so simple that it stands out.
Okay, imagine if you had a field of 40 GT3 Ferraris, and they all had to be in a monochrome color. Are you enjoying your life as a commentator now?
Welcome to the Ferrari Challenge, live from the Ferrari YouTube channel.
Yeah, not fun, I say. We're on to lap 14 of this race. Urexoy has broken away 2.5 clear of Jared Keane. 17 minutes almost left on the clock, and I think pit stops are going to begin. Ryan Chandler has come down to pit lane. Pete Moller has dropped behind Sully Saad after all that hard work to get up in front of Rodrigo Morales.
Party's not over yet. Felix Feliz on the scene. It is a Porsche party here in the middle of the field. He's going to have to go around the outside in turn 6, though. Not always the easiest thing to do, and not the possible thing to do for Feliz, but he's going to try and set it up off of turn 7 here. Go for the switchback if he can. He can't, though. Goes for a little bit of a slide, and that's going to open up the door for Matt Arnold here down the back straight. Draft not as effective in these cars as it once was, but still somewhat effective. And Matt Arnold has been very, very quick so far today. Very aggressive. Look at him peeking out. Look at those teeth popping out.
How early can he pull out of that draft, though, and then show your nose? Arnold doesn't think he's close enough to Feliz and is going to hold station for the time being. Another victim in the mid-pack, it would seem, as that Ferrari that we were just discussing finds itself spinning through turn 5.
No.
And then, well, hard into the wall. It doesn't even matter that it's not front-engined. I'm pretty sure that car is toast.
Fortunately, it is. Here we go, up through turn 7. A little bit of a curb clonk, I should say.
Well, curb clonk sounds good too.
That sounds like a video game where you go to space. The curb clonk. But yeah, there he goes, into the wall, and oh no. Does the pain not end for Oliver Pettit? No, it wasn't him. He does come down pit lane, though, with Roy Brown. I think they may have had a little bit of an argument earlier.
Well, it says Jack Stevenson crashed and towed. I think he just gave up on pit lane. It is not the easiest pit lane. Didn't see if there was any contact there. I don't think he would have run out of fuel. Plenty of drivers have begun to duck their way onto pit lane. Jason Bridges, Waldo Walden will be the next drivers to do so. 15 minutes to go. Think it's probably too early to see our leaders come on in, but already contending with traffic. That was the damage number 6 of Dale Peterson, and Errol Urexoy says, get me into pit lane, and I think Jared Keen's following him down.
Let's see, there's Joachim Backer staying on the track, but Jared Keen is in. Benatti's going to stay out. I think Morales is going to come in. It's kind of a split strategy here, so not one single strategy that everybody's decided on. Urexoy is going to be hoping he doesn't come out in traffic here, because he did have quite a comfortable gap over Joachim Backer especially. I think that was about 4 seconds. It was 3 seconds over Jared Keen. So he's comfortable now, but if he does end up behind somebody a little bit slower, that's when everything could go wrong here. He doesn't have any damage. It's going to be a straightforward stop, but when you're comfortable in the lead, everything could go wrong. Lots of things can go wrong.
I think 6 drivers effectively at the front decide to stay out. It is 13.3 seconds for Urexoy, 13.9 for Keen, and Urexoy comes out directly into the fire of traffic. It's lap traffic, though. The missing front end of the Ferrari now going to make a very distinctive black and red 488 GT3 car.
And that is a teammate of Jared Keen ahead of Errol Urexoy. I'm not going to say there's any team games going on. David Morse is going to pull out of the way here, I think, and let Urexoy get by, but still, he could have been a little bit more mean there and maybe held him up to help his teammate, but doesn't do so. Did help Matt Schlosser very much there, but that wasn't even for position, I don't think. That was just getting past a lapped car. He's going to have to pit and get some damage repair, but here comes Joachim Backer, hoping that maybe he could jump Jared Keen, who was stuck in traffic as well.
So Benatti in. Peter Moller, are we going to see? Yep, there he goes. And it was a committed pit entry for him, for Sully Sard, and for Matt Arnold. So at the end of lap 17, or end of lap 16, excuse me, seems like we've managed to hit the limit in terms of fuel, and everyone is going to make their way down on in. We're not really looking at Errol Urexoy and where he's going to fare in terms of those down on the lane. It is Jared Keen who swoops through the final corner in the Porsche. Joachim Backer already off and away. But is it going to be enough to be able to cycle in front of Keen, who has already got the tires up to temperature? There is going to be an advantage, but now under fire. Joachim Backer, 10 positions gained and up to second.
Very well timed there. I think he saw that bubble of traffic that both Urexoy and Keen ended up in. He said, you know what, I'm going to extend this a little bit longer. I'm going to make sure I don't end up in that traffic. And while Jared Keen was stuck behind Kulaga and Schlosser and having to get checked up, Backer was at full speed running qualifying laps. And right now he sits in, I believe, easily his best PRL result ever if he can hold on to it.
It's going to be a close fight, but you'd have to say probably a fight for second unless Joachim Backer in the next couple of minutes can bring the gap down to Urexoy to within a second to be able to sniff that little bit of draft. Ray Dominguez still yet to come down pit lane is in front of Matt Dinsmore, and that's going to be something that in some ways I'm sure frustrates Dinsmore and Brown as they battle. Dominguez still has to come down and add some fuel, but he's up there robbing them of some track position.
You know, I got to be honest, I kind of forgot Ray Dominguez was in this race after that penalty he got early, so it's good to see him again at least. Say his name, know that he has been very, very fast this season, and if he comes back next season, he's definitely going to be a championship contender without some of the bad luck he's had. But for now, he's basically just running qualifying laps, staying out as much as he can or as long as he can, maybe getting some defensive practice against Matt Dinsmore if he decides to go for a move, and then eventually his hopes will be crushed and he'll have to come in, but for now, he can enjoy a top 10.
We don't like to crush people's hopes, though, do we? They do that out on track sometimes for themselves. Not the case for Dominguez. The problem is in that situation, when you have Urexoy checking up, you're not thinking, oh, let me go to one side, the side that doesn't get you a penalty maybe. You're thinking, oh, let me check up and try not to cause a huge crash. And so I'm not saying Dominguez wouldn't have got a penalty if he went to the right, but, you know, maybe that's how the iRacing system would have thought about it. It's ultimately on Urexoy to not check up the field.
Exactly. That's what everything circles around. There's a lot of discussion from some of the drivers. They're kind of recapping what happened over in the PRL Discord server, and A lot of drivers unhappy. A lot of drivers kind of blaming themselves in a way and then being shot down like, no, it wasn't your fault that everybody checked up. It was the leader's fault because everything checked up. But that'll all be taken care of in the next couple of days, and if there's a penalty, there'll be a penalty. For now, though, there's 10 minutes to go, and Jochen Backer, oh, there goes Jared Kienoff in turn 1.
Oh, well, he was too keen to try and push on forward and now pays the price as they're going to be damage to his car. See if he can slither his way out, but immediately take a look at the replay. It's some grass on the left sides on entry, and it's spat into the wall hard before he even gets to the outside of the corner. I've got to assume that car is going to be damaged, at least in the steering.
Yeah, it's never a good day when you hit multiple walls in one crash, especially on a road course, but
Bang.
Clips the grass, slams the inside wall, slams
Bang.
the outside wall. Yep, he's done.
Well, he's still out there on track to his credit. Oh, you can see him try and slither out of the... Yeah, but not going in a straight line, I'm pretty sure, because he's pulled to one side, and Ray Dominguez is going to go on through... Yeah, that car's in trouble.
Yeah, it is very, very crabby. They're not... those four wheels are not pointed in the same straight line. It's a little bit like a shopping cart, and he's struggling to drive in a straight line. That's not a fun time. He's going to bring it down pit lane here, and I assume try to finish the race. But I think we do have to go up front for a second, Arjuna, because that gap between Urexoy and Backer has come down to 0.2 of a second. Urexoy's stuck in traffic.
Yeah, big traffic, and it's into turn 1 where now the BMW will pull to the inside and let them cycle on through, but not what they would want to see. Urexoy's got the pressure, and Jochen Backer sniffs that one extra spot to climb his way to the lead.
And that was one of the Throttle Thursday BMWs. That was Nicholas Karangas, so I'm not going to say he was going for revenge there, but I'm thinking, you know, maybe he would have been a little bit kinder to the leader if it was somebody else. Maybe let him by a little bit earlier, but either way, both of them ending up together on track. Huge checkup for Urexoy. I don't think Backer necessarily has the pace to stick with him, unfortunately. I think Urexoy will be comfortable here, but how comfortable can you be? You've got a car within a second again. That is when mistakes can come. He's been almost perfect this season when he's been in the lead of the race, but you never know.
Don't put the commentator's curse down on anyone here, but I'm hoping at the very least we get a fun fight for the lead. Peter Moller and Matt Arnold might have a fun fight of their own for a 4th position. Jared Keen's still out there, by the way. Does he not have a meatball flag? He does.
I think he might just be going for as long as humanly possible before he has to pit, but you know, I respect it. Trying to hang it out there. Might as well go for as long as possible. He is still struggling to drive in a straight line, which is never fun,
no.
But he'll get points at least. You get points for every position in the PRL, and if he's trying to go for a top 10 in the championship, he definitely wants to finish, but yeah, he's gonna have to get that thing fixed soon.
Has Roy Brown had an issue as well? Yeah. He's down into 8th, has lost 2 seconds. Matt Dinsmore's lost 4 seconds. They're tripping over each other plenty here, and we're going to Barcelona next, where I don't want to jinx anything, but it's even tighter and even more difficult to pass. Here's a look at what happened. It's into the chicane. Oh, Dinsmore goes deep. Roy Brown also goes deep, and the two come together. 2 does not go into 1, unfortunately.
It does sometimes, but unfortunately that was a little bit too big, or not a little bit too big of a dive, but just a mistake from Matt Dinsmore. Brown gets very eager, not quite clear though, and Matt Dinsmore not going to be too happy to add insult to injury there. Greg Doucette's going to be very happy, gets 2 for 1 there with his teammate, and you're going to have to remind me, Arjuna, Greg Doucette started 26th, correct? 29th?
Yeah, 29th, even further back. So
he's up 22 spots.
Quite impressive. At the front, by the way, Jochen Backer, who had closed, now drops back 1.5 and outside of the drafting range. Oh, Jason Bridges in focus again, and the Mercedes hard into the wall, and another one bites the dust.
Oh dear. It's not been a good day to be a Mercedes, or a Ferrari, or a BMW for that matter. It's only been a good day to be a Porsche. And Jason Bridges, not under the bridge, out of turn 7. Bad luck for him, but we've still got how many drivers left on the lead lap? 20 still on the lead lap, so could be far worse. We may have just lost one, though, because I think Roy Brown's just gone off.
Oh, add another one to the pile. And he's lost the rear wing.
Low down force.
Oh, that's Le Mans spec, if anything. Matt Dinsmore was tangled up in that one as well. Oh, do you want drama, Joey?
Just a little bit.
Did you ask for it?
Was that a revival of what happened at the chicane, potentially? A little bit of argy-bargy between Dinsmore and Brown. Did they just maybe do that again off the final corner? Let's see here. I think that's a lapped car ahead of Roy Brown, and then through the final corner, Brown gets into the back of Jared Keane. That was the damaged Jared Keane, who was still out on track, very slow.
Well,
and I don't think Brown expected that.
You got to question, Jared Keane had the meatball, which is iRacing's indication you have too much damage, you've got to come down to the track. If I'm anyone else who gets...
It was David Morse. It was David Morse.
Was it David Morse? Okay.
Corrected. It was the 21.
You're trying to throw Jared Keane under the bus.
I'm getting us both in trouble.
Yeah.
We're already in enough trouble. I'm getting us in more.
Jared Keane's down on pit lane, so hashtag blame Joey for that.
Jared Keane has been absolved of all crimes. Don't worry. So he's all good here. This is insane as well. Matt Arnold versus Peter Mahler. With all this drama, this is a 4th versus 5th battle. Matt Arnold could finish 4th today. And you're going to have to remind me of a starting position again, but I'm pretty sure he was outside of the top 10 for Arnold.
10th exactly, if memory
Nice.
serves. But to your point, he's been able to stay out of trouble. He was in that danger zone, wasn't he? Where, if we look at those movers and shakers once again, you can see that now the 3s, the 6s that existed from about 5th to 15th, most of those drivers have fallen away.
Yeah, well, you know why this has worked, Arjuna. It's because you don't mess with a dinosaur. Everybody knows that. You can't beat a dinosaur. Unless you're an asteroid, but, you know.
I was about to say, the dinosaurs
We'll be waiting
aren't
a couple
around
more billion
anymore.
years for that.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll be waiting a couple more billion years. For now, Matt Arnold, he's controlling the world. He's the king of the primordial soup and could be the king of 4th place here soon.
Yeah. 4 minutes to go. Time is ticking away. Track like this, lap times are short in the 1:19s or so for the majority of the field, and so with Errol Urexo heading off up through turn number 1, we've probably got 4 to go.
Something like that. Some small number. The race is almost over. I think the drama might be almost over, but I'm not gonna count anything out. We've already seen plenty of stuff go on here in the last couple laps, so you never know what could happen next. I don't think anything's gonna happen to Urexo though. I see no traffic in front of him. Jockenbacker's only following back. The only thing that may be on Errol Urexo's mind right now is, am I going to get a points penalty? Am I going to get my championship lead decimated a little bit because of that? Because if he does get maybe a 15, 20-point penalty, that could bring the likes of Greg Doucette back into the championship fight. But let's see Alan Dice go off again, as we haven't seen him go off enough, unfortunately.
This is deja vu, but it's not the replay that we saw earlier. This is actually a different replay. He's gone off twice at turn number 1 and not crashed. Quite impressive.
I mean, that's pretty good save, and I can tell you that I've done that about 1,000 times in every type of car at this track, because it's so easy to do. And we can't clown on Alan Dice too much, because he is currently in the lead of the NASCAR Truck Series Championship, so he's definitely got that figured out, trying to get some road course prowess on this side as well, so good for him.
Where are you in the Xfinity Series?
P8, I think.
Oh, not doing too bad.
I think if Alan Dice moves up to that series next season, he'll be... I think he'll be quicker than me.
Yeah, you might be in trouble there.
Yeah, I mean, my road course teammate, Ted Lowendick, who had driven like 2 ovals in a stock car before he came up, he's faster than me.
How does that work? Are you only teammates on a road course?
Well, he's a road course guy. Him and Nick, they're road course ringers, basically. But even though they are road course ringers, they're both fast in the ovals. That doesn't make sense. It's unfair.
So yeah, I mean, look at you. I mean, you got me calling out Jared Keane. You're calling out your own teammates. Wow, Joey.
It's been, I mean, I've stayed out of most of the bad luck. The only bad luck that's come to me has been me throwing it off the road at all the road courses, which will happen again this week at the Indy GP. But other than that, I've been lucky.
Indy GP is fun though.
Not in the Xfinity car. It is not fun at all. I was suffering.
It's less bad now that you don't have to do the awful first sector. You can admit that.
Yeah.
Is this going to be Matt Arnold poking to the inside? Peter Mahler's going to cover it off, force Arnold to look the long way around, and deep under the brakes. It is, I was going to say a green Porsche that holds on, but that doesn't really tell the story.
It's one of them, at the very least. 2 very, very different numbers, by the way. You can't get 2 numbers that are more different than the number 1 and the number 997. There's only 2 numbers that are more different there, but I don't think Matt Arnold's thinking about numerology right now. The only number he cares about is 2 laps to go. He's running out of chances to get by, and he's going to get very, very sick of green Porsches soon, but he's going to have to wait until the back straight again.
He might have to change his paint scheme if he gets too stuck behind the green Porsche. He might think it's a bad omen.
Yeah.
Is it going to be 2 to go, or might we be on the final lap of the race? I know your Rexoy only has a 2-second advantage, but we'll have to wait and see. They're squabbling further back. This is for 14th position. Herrera and Schlosser, who hasn't replaced the front end of his Ferrari, who's going to now get up and undered by Dallas Sullivan. But Grunt from the Ferrari holds on for now.
Yeah, lower weight, a little bit of weight saving, so no harm, no foul for Matt Schlosser there. Dallas Sullivan, another one of those drivers who's very, very successful in the truck series. Shockingly hasn't won a race so far this season. We'll see if he can do that tomorrow night. But I think Urexo is going to take the white flag here. It's going to be a race against the clock, though.
Oh, it's close, but I think you're right. Lines earlier than you would expect, and so it's the white, not the checkered. 2 seconds too early. It means one more lap for Matt Arnold to maybe have a crack at Peter Moller. But outside of that, in the top 10, no one in the right spot to make a move. And so, is the dinosaur going to feed? Well, not into turn number 1.
He's getting some fantastic runs, but he's really got to master turn 7 here. It's going to be his last chance to go for the dive into turn 10. Coming down the hill here, Mahler's got to hang on. No trouble for him there. Arnold a little bit wide himself, sliding down the hill, maybe pushing a little bit too hard. That gap's expanded, but Mahler's got to have a fantastic exit out of turn 7.
It's going to all be about that tighter than 90-degree turn 7. Errol Urexo has already navigated there safely. He's now just got a handful of corners with which to work. Matt Arnold sets the car up, but I think Peter Moller gets a good enough run. Half a second between the two. It should be the 997 that holds 4th.
It should be, but you never know. Arnold in the draft, probably going to be good for about a 10th or so. Probably not going to be good enough to have a chance to go for a dive here. He might take a peek, he might take a nose, but I don't think anything's going to happen there.
Nothing happening at the front except Errol Urexo running his way to the line. Much less dramatic this time, 35 minutes later, and he grabs what will be a victory, but with questions remaining around race control status. Jochen Packer take a bow. Plus 10 positions to be able to grab second. Andre Bernardi third. Peter Moller indeed holds on to that final spot. Well, I was going to say on the podium, but he's 4th position. You got 5th going the way of Matt Arnold, Felix Felice, Greg Doucette should be able to come out in front of Michael Kulaga. 22 positions gained, but Greg Doucette's run out of fuel once again.
He's getting a push for his teammate Carangis, but Mulholland,
who's
so
got it?
Close. Did he get it? Yeah, he did get it. A couple thousandths of a second. Mulholland up to 8th. That's a great result for him.
37 thousandths of a second. Greg Doucette loses not 1 but 2 positions out of the final corner.
So many drivers coming out happy tonight. Doucette not going to be happy with 9th, but with where he started, it could have been way worse. Mulholland, that's easily his best result of the season. I think his previous best was somewhere in the teens. Best result of the season for Backer by 7 spots. Bonatti first podium. And Alan Dice still bringing it to the finish. Didn't hit any walls, just took a little bit of grass. And the Affinity 4 gaming entry, P17.
I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to finish first. And so Alan Dice does enough to be able to grab 17th spot. 17 spots up from where he started this race. On the lead lap as well. Not a bad one, all things considered. That was pretty frenetic. Errol Urexo, the winner at the line. We'll see what race control has to say. Jochen Backer second, and able to not just push his way forward in the first stint with the on-track action, but using strategy to get past those that fought behind him later on. Andre Bernardi, Peter Moller, and then Matt Arnold, the rest of your top 5, with Felix Felice and then Michael Kulaga and Sean Mulholland, all finishing in front of Greg Doucette, who runs out of fuel for what might be it's definitely the 2nd time this season, but I want to say it might be the 3rd. Sully Saad, rest of your top 10 there, with Waldo Walden, Ray Dominguez, Ryan Chandler in the Ferrari, then in front of Nicholas Herrera with Matt Schlosser and Dallas Sullivan, Alan Dice. The final car scored on the leading lap. 1 lap down for the likes of Glenn Vanko, Oliver Pettit, and then David Morse. 21st went the way of Matt Dinsmore in the Throttle Thursday machine, with Steven Martinez, Roy Brown, Dale Peterson, and Eric Kulaga through your top 25 as we begin to get into that used car lot. Jared Keane, Jason Bridges, Michael Fowler, Nicholas Carangis, who gave the push, I believe, to Greg Doucette in 29th. Rodrigo Morales then 30th with the final 7 cars. Jack Stevenson, Christopher Rines, Jason Bridges, Jason Finch, Ryan Chandler, Jeff Carollo, John Jones, and then Brett Poncari. Just getting myself all sorts of wound up as we get ready to talk to some of our drivers in post-race coverage, and Joey Tebman is standing by with our winner, Errol Urexoy.
Well, Errol Urexoy, you know what we have to start with? The start of the race, a little bit of calamity, a little bit of drama. What happened from your perspective?
Oh, man. As I'm coming through the bridge, going down the hill, I hit the recenter on my VR, and it just went doink for like, I don't know, second and a half, and did the little 3 dots thing, man, and I just froze. So I already apologized to everybody in the thing who got caught up in that behind me, but there's nothing I can say other than that. That's on me.
So the green flag was out when you went initially?
Pace car was far enough away from me where I could have made my start, and he would have beat me to the line, so that I wouldn't have passed the pace car. But it was like right as I got on it and started going down the hill, my view was off just a little, and I hit the recenter, which is usually no big deal, and it just went. Took a second and a half to figure out what was going on, and it was black, and that's why I'm just like stuck there, standing still, trying not to move, and I think I panicked and hit the brakes, so that's going to be on me. There's no way around that. I gotta eat that one.
Technology strikes sometimes, but either way, it is a win all the same. We'll see you next week at Barcelona, and you should still be the championship leader, so we'll see you then.
All right, yeah, I told you guys I love Road Atlanta.
Don't we all? Errol Urexoy victorious tonight at Road Atlanta all the same, but Joachim Backer's here with us as well, Arjuna. Best result of the season for you, good sir. Did you expect a podium coming into tonight?
No, not at all. I mean, it's my first podium in this series to begin with. I just I did a lot of public lobbies this week, and I was doing pretty well, but a podium here was beyond expectation.
I mean, it's only your 3rd race of the season, so a solid result here. Barcelona coming up next week. It's going to be an interesting place to take a field of GT3s around. How do you think that's going to go for you?
I'm going to have to put in a lot more practice because I've done the old versions on like Formula 1, but I have barely run it in the GT3. So practice will be key here.
And then, why not? We might as well go to the last 2 rounds of the season as well. Le Mans and Phillip Island, 2 very, very different tracks. You're on a hot streak. Can you take this all the way to the end of the season?
Le Mans, I think so. I've got tons and tons of laps on there, but Phillip Island is brand new to me. So again, I'm going to have to put in tons of practice to even come close to being competitive.
Well, we'll let you hop off and get some of that practice already. Congrats on your first podium in the PRL, and we'll see you in Barcelona next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Joachim Backer, 2nd place tonight. No 3rd place Andre Bonatti, unfortunately, but either way, a tale of 2 different races. A leader who's a little bit unhappy with some technical issues, and a 2nd place finisher who could only be a little bit happier.
I mean, I've got to admit, it's great to hear no excuses out of Errol Urexoy. He holds his hands up, says that's on him. Technical issue, and I, as someone who used to race in virtual reality, can understand just how frustrating it can be when things don't always work the way that you need them to go. But next up, we head over to Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. The fun part is that we're, as you can see, just at the top of that building, actually going to run the double right-hander. We're not going to have that awful chicane, Joey, that ruins all sorts of flow. I don't want to say it ruins passing opportunities, but it's going to be interesting if there are many at what is a tight and twisty track.
I think I can say it. It ruins passing opportunities, and I'm excited that we're going to the historic layout. It's still Barcelona. It's still very, very difficult to pass, but it's a classic for a reason. Everything from F1 to the 1992 Olympic cycling road race, everything's gone to Barcelona. We see fantastic shows here all the time. I'm going to be listening to the Bill Newman song Barcelona all week long, and I'll be ready.
I unfortunately won't be here because I'm going to be off grabbing some actual holiday after the last time I missed a race. I was off commentating somewhere else. But
you going to be in Barcelona?
I wish. I was going to say, I wish I could be in Barcelona. The thing that I do think is that with this Le Mans and Phillip Island coming up next, you've got to make the most of these next 2 races. Qualifying at Barcelona, boy, Joey, you're going to have to get it right.
You are, and you're going to have to get qualifying right at Le Mans as well. It's not going to be quite as important, but qualifying always important in both of these GT3 series with how difficult passing has been, especially with the new meta over the past couple seasons with the diminished draft and a few other things. It's always difficult. You got to master qualifying, and that's why you hear people like Joachim Backer saying They're doing tons of laps during the week. They're doing official races to make sure they're absolutely perfect once Tuesday night comes around, because you can't afford mistakes. You got to be 100%.
And so it means that while the GT3 fixed drivers are going to turn their attention the way of Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, we make our way back over to the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, but this time with the drivers of the PRL GT3 Sprint Series. It means 5 more minutes onto the clock, open setups, still got plenty of those compromises that now have got to be determined by the drivers themselves, and boy, has it been a wild season here. Our defending champion Abner Acosta has really struggled to be consistent, and it's meant that in that void, new contenders have emerged. Quick look at the series schedule. It is identical to the fixed series. There's really not much to talk about. Road Atlanta, Barcelona, Le Mans, and Phillip Island. That is all that is left as we run our way to the end of August, as we run our way to crown a champion. As we look at the point, it is now starting to see the separation build. Not necessarily between Vincent Trepigny and Carl Modoff, who are still only separated by 5 points. It's to Boris Ovando, to Michael Diaz, and to Beckham Jasir. 5 point splits those drivers, but starting to be embroiled in just a battle for third, Joey.
And you can start to see the cream rising, or if you're Vincent Trepigny, the clem rising above the field. Vincent Trepigny and Carl Modoff, those guys are the titans of GT3 racing in the PRL, and they are hopping above the field. Boris Ovando's won a race this season. Beckham Jasir's won a race this season. Dominic Olivier's won a race this season, but nobody has been competitive and consistent like those top two. So if you're going to want to be a third driver in that championship battle, you're going to have to hope that maybe both of them run into some trouble like they did at Watkins Glen in race 1.
But they have started to step up their game in qualifying as well, and it's where, between the two, 5 poles shared, they will continue surely to be up towards the front. Quick look at the team championship as well, and when it comes to this, it does mean, of course, that you've got the same problem of being able to be consistent across of at least 2 drivers. It is Advanced Motorsports with Trepigny leading the way, Simon Theriault in that top 10 as well, that run first, only 80 points clear of Precision Racing Esports Purple, with Boris Ovando and Michael Diaz sitting 3rd and 4th. Remember, only one team in the fixed series, Joey, was able to have 2 drivers in the top 10. We've had 2 teams able to do it here in the Sprint Series.
And you see SimCity Racing down to 1 car. They started this season as a 2-car team, but that's since been split up. Just 1 singular car left for them. Unit Sim Sports now has 3 drivers fighting for points. Vulture Motorsports North, their sprint squad as well, doing a good job this season. Nick and Ted's Excellent Adventure, I do have to bring them up, not just because they're my teammates tomorrow night, but the Ferrari has been known to be very, very strong around Road Atlanta in this open setup series in the official races. So this could be a season best race for them if they can get that pace out of the Ferrari.
I thought you were bringing them up because of the shirt that potentially you may or may not be wearing right now.
Oh, I'm not wearing it right now. I'm actually wearing my Vulture Motorsports shirt. I just realized that, but it's back there.
So we're not even matching right now.
No.
I was very excited for a second. I thought we were going to get the matching t-shirts. Drivers out there for qualifying. Before we get a look at them on track, let's look at them in their rigs. And at least Teddy Lowendick and Nick McLaughlin are wearing the shirts. I'm matching with the 2 of them. You got Vincent Trepigny that's up top in the middle alongside Nick McLaughlin. To their right, Ray Dominguez still sitting there reviewing what happened in that previous race. Got Kwoknin in virtual reality. You've got Caven Norris there in the middle with that purple luminescence behind. Mentioned Ted Lowendick, and then Miguel Angel Fonseca and Arnaud Genet down the bottom. Always great to get a look behind the scenes.
Seeing into their rooms. Normally it's just the NSA that gets to do this, but now we get to see in their rooms as well. It's fantastic. And Ray Dominguez, I think he'll eventually log off, but he's still processing the race that just happened to him. Maybe he's watching the broadcast. Maybe he's looking at himself right now.
Well, he says there's nothing to see there in the background. Which, isn't that a picture of his actual background?
It's something like that. I don't think we've ever resolved the mystery because it is his room, but it's either a picture of his room, because you can see there's like, he's phasing in and out of reality here, so I don't know if that's because he's sitting at a green desk or something. I don't know. There's some violation of the laws of physics going on there.
There is some Zoom funkery going on there. I think we are pretty aligned on that. Again, cars are out there for a 20-minute solo qualifying session. Unlimited laps, but you do have to potentially come back in and change tires if you want. Unlike earlier, these drivers have the luxury of being able to put however much fuel into the car that they would want. Less than 5 minutes remain in the session, and we are, what, almost a full second quicker in times than we were seeing in the GT3 Fix Series. Vincent Trepanier and Carl Modoff, you can't separate them 1 and 2 currently in the session.
The creme de la creme. They're always up there. Can't separate them, but one guy who has been able to separate them, one of the people who has been able to beat them raw and on pace, is Beckham Jasir in third. I think Dominic Olivier did a similar thing and beat them just totally legitimately on pace. Boris Ovando won in kind of a crazy race. There was a little bit of contact, a little bit of drama. He ended up coming out with the win, but Beckham Jasir and Dominic Olivier, they've been faster legitimately, and they got 4 more minutes to try and find more speed to get on pole.
I'm trying to think of what your name would be if you were a Quebecois.
Joey Tebanier.
Yeah, I was going to say, that seems quite natural, doesn't it? Which is why, surely we've got to come up with something else.
Well, you would be Aljuna Hankipat.
No, I think that definitely needs to be workshopped. It might end up in a name that is not pronounceable on a broadcast.
Probably.
But my name sometimes ends up resulting in those words anyway, to some. Carl Modoff, no improvement with the 3.5 minute mark now being hit in the session. And Vincent Trepanier is going to slow and head back to pit lane. I think that's him effectively done and dusted, unless he's going to go out there for one final run. Precision Racing Esports feeding each other draft. And Dominic Olivier is going to be slingshotted into the final chicane.
I don't know how effective that's going to be, but it's worth a shot there. Didn't get held up at all. Just got some beautiful draft from one of his teammates. I couldn't tell you which one it is because they're all painted the same, but I do know this is Dominic. And across the line, a couple hundredths, but not enough.
No, he's going to stay fourth. He's still almost a full 10th behind.
Whoa!
Beckham Jasir, and now he's off the track and around. That's Boris Ovando in 5th position, who was definitely not the one giving the draft to Dominic Olivier. You're right, can't tell which of the teammates it is. They've added some color, but they haven't necessarily made it very easy for us. Carl Modoff is going to have a couple more laps, and it doesn't look like he's going to stop pushing. So at some point, even with the coolish conditions that we've got, the qualifying is going to be over. Is it going to be now? He's in the wall and off the track.
Putting the off in Modoff, unfortunately, but he's very much up there. Second place. There's far worse places to be in on the race start. Boris Ovando, we know which one he is because he has the green highlights. He has the green number, the green wing. So it's always easy to pick him out of the pack, but he's got no help here.
But it's wrong because he's got the IMSA decals on, and he shouldn't.
It helps us at the least, so I can't complain.
No, he's wrong. We need those PRL number boards on because they look good. He's going to come to the line, find 0.2 of a second, slide in front of Dominic Olivier. That might be one of the final improvements that we see in the session, I feel. Gonzalo Cortez in... I don't feel like this is a new paint scheme, but newish, heading off into the final chicane. He's got to find himself 0.2 of his own.
I believe it's new for this season. We used to see him in the red balloon. It was just a bright monochrome red car with no logos on it, but he's finally got Logitech on for this season. It's been less easy to differentiate him, but he has been quick so far. He's going to bring it to the line. No improvement for him. He's going to go around one more time. Yeah, only one more time. He crossed the line with about 1:15, so he's not going to make it for one more lap. Fonseca is only going to get one more lap as well with a non-real lap there. He's got to build up the speed now.
Same for Fernando Yaquez in the Cibao Racing Team car. This car's setting up for final attempts. Here's Arnaud Genet down through the final corner, and now the Unit SimSport liveried car. 17.745 finds 0.3, and while Simon Terrier goes to 6, Arnaud Genet 0.004 behind, slots into 7th.
It's a big day to be a French Canadian. Simon Theriault, Arnaud Genet, Vincent Trepanier, everybody doing very well. I want to join them.
Look at that new livery for Martin Chris, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, I think this was the original one he put on the car, and then last week I think it was an alternate livery. I don't think we were supposed to see, and now it's back to the real one.
So I only saw last week's livery, so I got the surprise. Josh Spears is going to set his best, but it's only going to get him a 22nd for the time being. Caven Norris, no improvement as with 10 seconds to go. Final scampers across the line. Vincent Trepanier says, I don't need to improve. I'm off to practice pit entry.
He is done and comfortable. I don't know if anybody else is going to be able to even challenge him 26 of Fernando Jaquez here. He could make his way into the top 10. You never know here. Out of the final corner. Almost full throttle through there, across the line. No improvement for him either. 13th place for him. Unlucky 13th, unfortunately.
Yeah, but that's what, 27 thousandths off the previous best, so at least you can... He's got the most out of the session, you'd have to say. Noah Anderson, 1.2 off the pole, and he's going to find himself a half a tenth of his own, goes from 30th to 28th, and now potentially final improvements we'll see. Martin Crisp back to the line in the blue, yellow, and white. He's going to find no improvement, but only 200ths there behind him. Don't think anyone else finds any time either, and it means, well, Diego Morales goes up to 9th, Ted Lowendick peels off towards pit lane. It's another qualifying session that comes to a close, but with a bit of a whimper.
Yeah, I think that talk about the Ferraris being strong, I don't think that's actually the case, because Ted's 19th, Nick is a little bit deeper in the field. No improvement for Caven Norris, no improvement for Corey Hocken, and Matt Scherf. Last but not least, the fan club out in full force. They finally get to see him here in the Sprint Series, and he doesn't find any time. Where's all the time gone?
Yeah.
There's no improvements.
Seriously, they're all struggling. Vincent Trepanier, by the way,
Why is he back out? Why is he back out on track?
Well, he's just practicing another pit entry. It is not the easiest one. Look at the commitment. He hits the wall on the inside, and I'm pretty sure he hits the wall on the outside too.
Vincent Grosjean over here.
Oh, that is brutal. You are making no friends with the drivers today.
Listen, he's on pole. We gotta take him down a notch. We're punching up here.
Oh, okay, fair enough. That I will concede to you on that. It is, though, going to be a 4th pole position of the season for Vincent Trepanier on his quest to add to the win count, to add to the championship haul. He continues to make it count in the Go Far session. Now 40 minutes thrown onto the clock. It's a whole new world. Let's run you down through the starting grid here from the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. A full pace lap, so plenty of time to run you down through the grid. It's Vincent Trepanier that will roll from the front. He's got 16 wins so far, all in the GT3s. Next win would bring him in front of Nick McLaughlin, only behind Carl Modoff in GT3 and GTE wins. Modoff will try and stop him on his outside, while Beckham Jasir and Boris Ovando line up on row 2. Dominic Olivier and then Simon Theriault share the 3rd row of the starting grid. Arnaud Genet and Gonzalo Cortez 7th and 8th, with Diego Morales and Alessandro Torchio through your top 10. Half a second making up those front 5 rows, and then back into 11 to find the first non-Porsche, where Sean Dickinson flies the flag for Sim City. He's got Nathan Bartley in the Precision Racing Esports Black number 37 on his outside. 13th, hopefully not unlucky, 13th for Fernando Jaquez in the Seabao Racing Team 26. Martin Crisp rolls to his right-hand side. Another Seabao entry back in 15th with Mon Malagon. Jeremy Gonzalez on his right-hand side. Ryan Pucktel and Kwok Nin share row 9, while completing the top 20, Ted Lowendick and then Michael Terrafino. I think Joey Tebben has slightly put the commentator's curse down on the Ferraris. Caven Norris, Josh Spears, 21st and 22nd, while Miguel Angel Fonseca and then David Mendoza, 23rd and 24th. Some new paints on offer, especially in the camp for that number 55. Ryan O'Connor and then Faris Nasser, 25th and 26th. With Uptown Gary Brown last season becoming Midtown Gary Brown as he finds his footing in the GT3 Sprint Series. Corey Hokin and then Noah Anderson and Ethan Bass, the rest of your top 30, with the Ford within 1.2 of pole. Nick McLaughlin, Artie Mercedes, Keaton Marchese, Justin Delano, Marc-Andre Deschardin, and then Matt Scherf make up the front 36th. And we're not done. Alexander Breton, Jay Steffi, and then Joseph Carnes. Final cars with times on the board. Philippe Magnon rolls from the very back of the 40-car contingent. I thought I took my time with that grid. They've still got the full formation lap to go. We'll take another look on board with the various drivers. And I tell you what, Joey, why don't we have a chat with... We usually talk to Ted first, so why don't I let you loose with Nick?
Why not? We might as well change it up. Oh, I see him looking up. He knows what's about to happen.
Gentlemen,
you
how
hyped
are
up the
we?
Ferrari, Nick. You hyped it up. You said this was going to be quick this week, and we're still need a little bit more speed.
I tell you, it does feel quicker if you can put the lap in, which I clearly did not.
Bad luck, bad luck. What's more difficult, trying to survive Road Atlanta or trying to keep a car pointed straight in Xfinity at the Indy GP?
You know, and after I've done enough laps of Indy GP, I'm pretty comfortable there. The first lap in this Ferrari around here is really tight. but from what I could see, there's a lot of Porsches going around in practice, so hopefully I just stay out of the mess.
And don't tell Nick I said this, but I'm not wearing the Nick and Ted's shirt. I'm wearing a different team's shirt right now. I forgot. I should have.
Don't worry, Nick.
The Nick and Ted shirt on.
I'm wearing that. Why don't we bring Ted in as well? Ted, Nick's already here. Joey's not wearing his shirt. I just wanted you to be aware of this.
Outrageous.
I didn't know this was. I didn't know this was organized. I didn't get the memo. I didn't get the email.
Oh, jeez.
Come on.
He had the whole day off to do it. And
Listen, I was spending time at Ted's Cheeseburgers. I was distracted.
Steamed cheeseburgers right to the brain.
Can't forget it. I mean, I'm still
Not
tasting it. That's more of an acid reflux thing than a memory thing, but still, it's great.
I even more wanted to work.
I don't know.
Well, did you guys see the start of the previous race?
We did not.
No.
Okay.
Do I want to know?
Do you expect to not make it?
Just stay out of trouble. That's all I'll say. It should be fun at Road Atlanta other than that. We'll let Nick and Ted get back to their little chat, because down into the final chicane, final sector we will go. 40 minutes, about 31, 32 laps of racing. Joey, same question as what I asked you before the Fixed Series race. What are your expectations here?
Well, if I'm going by the past couple of races, other than Spa, it's going to be a Trepanier-Modoff show, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the same thing happen today, but you never know. Maybe Vincent Trepanier's computer will crash in 5 seconds here.
It's a bit longer of a hold, but as the pace car peels away, down under the Fox Factory Bridge and to the green, Vincent Trepanier leads us to the start of the next round of the PRL GT3 Sprint Series, and it's single file between him and Modoff. Beckham Jasir as well, able to get single filed out as they now begin the climb up in towards turn 3. Who's going to be hung out to dry on the outside? Looks like a couple of the WeRace Esports Porsches trying to maybe stick it around the long way. And Diego Morales, I think, going to hold on to a spot inside of the top 10. But down in through the end of the first sector, a tidy start in complete contrast to what we saw before.
Far more normal, far more clean, and I don't see a single issue all throughout the field. So well done, everybody. Up through turn 5 for the first time. I'm seeing a whole field of cars flowing their way through. Couple moments of side-by-side through the S's, couple dives, but other than that, it's been a beautiful start here as we file down the back straight for the first time. See a little bit of a checkup in the middle of the field there with Pucktel, and there's the drama. BMW goes around. Other than that, though, perfectly clean and very few cars collected.
Yeah, Ryan Pucktel, Michael Terrafino, the first little checkup, but it was way behind them. Corey Hokin, David Mendoza, excuse me. Those were the two cars that got mixed up. It's down through that chicane, though. First time of asking, where already half a second between Trepanier and Modoff. They are continuing to run 1 and 2. Beckham Jasir, Boris Ovando, Dominic Olivier, and Simon Theriault. No change inside of the top 6. Like we mentioned, the first half of the lap complete without any sort of drama. The fight starting to begin now, though. Ted Lowendick past Jeremy Gonzalez and now looking to the back of Kwok Nin.
There's a little bit of drama out of the final corner for Gonsalves. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but he's back pointed straight. And now we ride on board with Kwok Nin in the bright pink t-shirt. Is that giving him some good luck? I sure hope it is. Ted Lowendick hunting him. It's Porsche versus Ferrari. Kwok Nin up in the top half of the field, up over the curb in turn 5. Not stressed whatsoever. Typical Kwok.
It's what you want to see at the start of these races as well, right? Is that calm mentality, not going to be pushing too hard, not too flustered by anything that's happening, and just keeping everything under lockstep. Out of turn 7 once again. You can see a couple of cars pushing out wide, and Kwok Nin not getting the best run. Inside of the front train, 15 cars continue to make their way single file. I say that just as Diego Morales and Nathan Bartley are going to find themselves squabbling. To the inside goes the WeRace Esports Porsche, and Morales going to slide on through behind as well. A couple more cars looking for their opportunities. But you're going to have to be clinical here. You don't want to lose time battling like we saw earlier on.
You don't, so Bartley kind of had to take the loss there. Make sure he didn't fight too hard to get it back and just slot back in line here. Hope Sean Dickinson doesn't get by, and he has done that. He is now in line, but he's struggling a little bit. Look at Dickinson around the outside, and he turns him up the hill.
Oh, and that's going to be bouncing back. How And
Incredible.
how did that happen? Nathan Bartley managed to split both of the Seabow Racing cars. We're going to need a couple of looks at that replay. Before we get to that, here's a look at what happened out of turn number 7. Mendoza gets turned. You can see Corey Hoking goes off into the grass as well. But goodness gracious me, there's more going on in the live pictures because Sean Dickinson has been involved, and Trepinier's got mixed up as well in his own little incident at turn 7.
It's all kicking off. We're going to have to break the bowling alley animations out here because we're throwing strikes here. This is insane. And it looks like it was a single car incident. It looks like it was a mistake of his own for Vincent Trepanier, and that never happens.
He was flying, but flying too much, it would seem, and now he's got it all to do from 17th. This is Karl Modov's chance to shine and not just grab the victory to extend the margin in the overall win count. There's the look at Sean Dickinson initially getting the contact, and maybe it looked a little less dramatic from that camera angle, but boy, from the vantage point that we had, this bounce back, it was every bit as dramatic as we thought.
I mean, we have to ride on board with Juan Malagon, I think, because he's not going to have a mind right now. He's going to be terrified. I want to know what actually started that in the first place as well, because I think it was just a little bit of a track position argument. Dickinson tried to go around the outside. Bartley a little bit slow through turn 1, a little bit of a bad exit. Dickinson's there, but he's not all the way there, and Bartley doesn't really know he's there. Malagon coming through. Not bad.
Oh, we both unpubertized ourselves there for a second. Oh, Juan Malagon, how? Pray to the racing gods, because you're never getting lucky like that ever again. Then what happened, though, more importantly, I think in terms of championship picture, to Vincent Trepanier, it's through turn 6 where he's just so committed, thinks the camber's going to help the car stick, but not that much.
It's a rare, unforced Vincent Trepanier error. You don't see this very often, so make sure you remember this one. Into turn 6, just the littlest bit of a bobble, clips the curve a little bit. It's sort of a convex curve where you fall down into it and then it unsettles the car. He goes around. It looks like the pace lap through the final quarter here. Ted Lowendick, Pucktel, Caven Norris. It's a whole cloud of cars.
And this is what Vincent Trepanier has joined as well. Let's not forget, Lowendick now leads the Galgo for 13th. Oh, for a second I thought Caven Norris was sailing off into the Georgian grass, but he got it back under control, just arrested the understeer from the Porsche and slotted in front of Vincent Trepanier for 16th spot. Goodness. Road Atlanta does not ever disappoint. If you're Vincent Trepanier, though, it disappoints you right now.
He doesn't look too disappointed at the very least, so that's good for him. Good mindset to have, because he knows as well that he's one of the 2 fastest drivers in the field. He's not gonna be on the podium. He knows that much, but at the very least, he will likely be able to get back into the top 10. He can salvage a good result after this, because he knows that his one drop week is probably taken already. If you remember back to week 1, got punted by Ovando, if I remember correctly. A little bit of contact, ended up finishing P10, exactly. He can't afford another bad day like that.
The great thing about this battle pack as well is the opportunities we have for the webcams. Caven Norris is just in front of Vincent Trepanier, but it's not just Caven Norris that's giving us the webcam here. You've got, we've already looked at Ted Lowendick and Kwok-Nin, but we can check in with them as well. It's the who's who of the webcam club.
It is, and Caven Norris and Vincent Trepanier not actually teammates right now, ASR versus Unit Sim Sports, but they're sort of teammates. Very related teams, drivers who have raced for both of those teams, so I don't think they'll be too aggressive with each other. I think they'll be pretty kind. Ted Lowendick and Ryan Pucktel, though, no team affiliation here. 2 different cars, 2 different drivers, 2 different teams. They'll be all out with each other.
And clearly, again, no affiliation from you, because you're not wearing the shirt. You have made sure you're with the Vulture Motorsport gang today, despite this little contingent, this little club that we were trying to have, Joey.
I mean, it hasn't given them any good luck so far.
I mean, to be fair, your face didn't give them much luck last season either. So they're just hoping and praying whatever they can do can give them some luck at this point. Martin Crisp in that, I must say, crispy livery. Wonder how much he's going to defend from Fernando Yaquez, because 2.3 now behind Diego Morales. They are losing track of those in front, and maybe if Martin Crisp can work with the Seabow Racing Team cars, they'll be able to close that gap up.
Seems like he's more interested in almost throwing it off the road out of turn 10, though, because he was playing with fire there, playing with grass, using every inch, almost getting in the grass as well in turn 1. You have to be very careful doing that. He knows the limits of the track, but if you overstep it just that little bit, you're going at such high speeds here, and there's concrete everywhere that if you clip the grass, you're gone. You're done. There's no saving it.
No, it is old school in that way. The reality is really the only change that this track has seen since it was acquired by Don Panos and Petit Le Mans was brought here was the addition of the chicane, because FIA has rules about how long straights can be, which is the same reason why Le Mans has straight chicanes now added there. It is old school, although maybe you can still claim that there are some that feel more old school in their nature. Back up at the front, yes, Karl Modov has a golden opportunity, but the fiercely forward machine of Beckham Jasir are not letting the 948 run away, and you listen to the fuel saving on board. Jasir releases the throttle down the hill. He's got a strategy game on his mind.
I think Karl Modov is doing some big old fuel saving right now up front, though. He's not just magically decided to drive slower. I think he's backing off. He knows he can afford to. He knows it's going to be difficult for Beckham Jasir to pass him anyway, so he can back the pace down a little bit, save a little bit of fuel himself as the race leader. Maybe bring Jasir and Ovando into the equation in the top 3, give them some hope, and then once he comes into the pits, it'll be a shorter pit stop, and he should be in control of the race. At least that's what he hopes, because you never know with Beckham Jasir. He's always got something in his sleeve.
You can hear a little bit of that lifting coast even out of Karl Modov. Just listen to them into turn 6 and turn 7. It's not much, it's very subtle, especially given how much you are bringing momentum into both of those corners, but Modov controlling the pace. Last time was an 18.2, his fastest a 17.5, amongst the fastest that the race has seen. But Beckham Jasir within 2/10, and we said in the last race, the draft will give you a 10th or so, but again, no move until we get to within the last 15 minutes of the race. It's one of those where Simon Theriault behind, 1.8 off, there'll still be some hope that they can latch back into the draft.
Yeah, he might end up getting up there. He's the fastest driver on track right now. Karl Modov, in the process of saving fuel, is currently running 8/10 slower than his fastest lap of the race, so you can tell he is in big-time fuel save mode. Theriault, not that much quicker than him, actually. I think he's trying to save some fuel as well, but if he does decide to push a little bit, if he does maybe run into a checkup with the 4 up front, he can definitely bring that gap down and maybe get it within draft range before the pit stop cycle comes around, but it's going to be difficult for him.
See how they all push. You can see Theriault taking liberties over the edge of turn 5. You can do it, not always the fastest thing to do though. You can see those last laps on the left. Dominic Olivier, one of the few cars into the 17s last time by, and it was only about 0.5 of a second, that margin that he was able to grab. If you are Karl Modov, would you want to be running at the front? Would you concede the lead to be able to save more fuel?
No, because I think he's saving more than enough fuel in the lead right now. I don't think there's any reason to give up the track position. He's so experienced in the lead of these races, and he's come back into the PRL at a time where the racing meta is somewhat different, where we do have these massive fuel-saving runs to start off the race. It's all about that pit stop. He knows what he's doing. I think he's definitely able to save a lot of fuel up here in the lead, but if Beckham Jasir does say, hey, you know what, maybe I'll send a dive here and take that track position from you, it does put you at the risk of maybe being caught out by surprise like that.
Yeah, 30 minutes left, and these GT3 cars, not in the same spot as the GTP counterparts in IMSA competition, where here on iRacing, 1 or 2 new cars being teased to be released in a couple of weeks' time. I'm sure those that drive the BMW M Hybrid V8 and the Cadillac will be thinking about what that means for them in terms of changes. It means for us here in the PRL, Joey, believe we're getting some new series.
Darn right.
Series is that a word, sorry?
Something like that,
Yeah.
some sort of plural, but GRD6 series, it will be going off to the side, and next season on Monday nights, it'll be the LMP3 GT4 Challenge, that'll be back, and then, in addition to that, the GTP LMP2 series will be making its technical PRL debut. There's been prototype series in the past, but after a couple seasons off, prototypes are finally back at a high level in the PRL, and it's going to be very, very exciting on Monday nights.
I might have to try and see if I can sneak my way into, not race, because we know that I'm never going to do that. Although I am doing the iRacing 15th anniversary races. Everyone should make sure they do that and get their iRacing awards. It's free and easy at the end of the day, and you already subbed, I'm assuming. But yeah, might try and see if I can get to commentate on that occasionally. Oh, Matt Scherf for commentating on another Turn 5 incident.
Oh dear. I mean, it's the turn 5 curb, and when you get on it, it's a surefire way to spin that car into the inside wall.
I don't think the Scherf fan club's going to be a fan of yours. You could already tell he was loose before he even kicked into the gravel and almost followed the car in front.
It's a shame. It's been a trial by fire for Matt Scherf, but we know he's a very, very fast driver. Multiple wins in the GT3 Fix Series. Kind of learning his way here in the GT3 Sprint Series this season. But I think we'll see him back next year, and we'll see many, many more good results from him. Nick McLaughlin is down pit lane early. I don't know if that's because of damage or if that's a legitimate strategy choice. Based on the fact that it's Nick, I would say it's probably damage.
Well, 11.8 stationary. That implies to me he thinks he can make it to the end. And he's come out in clean air. Doesn't have to worry about other people doing the fuel saving that we seem to be seeing. Might not be the worst call in the world. Martin Christ finally behind one of the Seabao Racing cars as Fernando Yaquez cycles up into the top 10.
He's the meat in the sandwich with CRT bread. Into turn 1, Crisp still, he's extending the track more than anybody else is. He's got half a wheel in the grass. Nobody else is even getting that far to the left, and it's great if you're getting lap time out of it, but it is very, very scary. And I really hope he doesn't overstep it by just an inch, because if he does, that is going to be a very, very damaged Porsche, and there's going to be even more polygons on it than we see on the normal livery.
Well, at least we don't see any of the wireframes like we do on Michael Terrafino's car. Speaking of, Michael Terrafino, almost right on cue. He's in pit lane. So is Miguel Angel Fonseca. So is Vincent Trepanier, who I think is trying to get out of trouble. He's going to emerge in relatively clean air. And now, yes, he's 28 positions down from where he started, but let's see what he can do to recover.
So that tells me that that was legitimate strategery from Nick McLaughlin as well. So I got to take back my slander there. Everybody does seem to think, or at least 5 drivers seem to think, that the early pit stop does work here. You can make it to the end, and it might be a little bit longer stop than you would get if you came in at the end, but for Vincent Trepanier, who was stuck in traffic, he might make up more time just being out on track by himself than he would with late pit stop.
Exactly. Still got 25 minutes to run. We're only 15 minutes in. This one, not seeing the same level of drama at the very start of the race, but already Marc-Andre Deschardins, Matt Scherf, Philippe Magnon, Sean Dickinson, Nathan Bartley, and David Mendoza have all retired. Plenty of other drivers have already come down pit lane, but seemingly for actual strategic reasons, and that continues. Faris Nasser and Ryan O'Connor become the next two to make their way down. Plenty of drivers just wanting to get out of trouble, I guess.
Something like that. Ryan O'Connor, he's been around, I think, 30th so far, so he's been in kind of the danger zone. 20th, actually. He's been around a big pack of traffic, so he's getting out, getting in clean air behind Faris Nasser as well. The leaders are going to run into some traffic here in a moment. Jay Steffi just up the road there in one of the 2 Fords in the field. I don't think he'll cause any trouble for Karl Modoff, but he will be in the way here in a couple of moments.
Through that chicane, track limits not necessarily a concern for too many drivers, I would think, but we did see Ted Lowendick hit the incident limit last time. I think it's, what, is it 13 incident points?
13 incident points and you get a drive through,
yeah.
17 and you're disqualified.
Yeah, you don't want to have that. Either one, to be fair. Drive through already ruins your race. DQ just adds to your misery. Stay out of that world. Speaking of Ted, got Ryan Pucktel, Kevin Norris, Jeremy Gonzalez all still in a train. And now with Vincent Trepanier having already pitted, 118.324 last time by for Ted. See how that stacks up to what the pace is behind.
I mean, it's close to the pace up front. That's basically a Karl Modoff lap, but at the same time, I think Karl Modoff probably saving a little bit more fuel than Ted is, so they've equaled out somewhat artificially, but still, Ferrari doing very, very well. It's been fast in a straight line here, and that's going to be eternally frustrating for Ryan Pucktel, because you need to be fast in the straight line if you want to make the move into turn 10, and he has not been able to do so, and Ted has been mistake-free Into turn 7 here, off the corner, pretty straightforward, and Pucktail's gonna have to keep waiting.
I distinctly remember back in the GTE days running a setup where we had almost zero wing, very, very scary in the corners, but very fast in a straight line. Not the case for any of the Porsches here, I would say. Juan Malagon goes the long way around. Martin Kriff says, I can't fight you too much there. I can try and get the up and under and now drag you in towards turn number 1. But I don't think Martin Kriff's got the momentum as he tries to switch back through the final corner.
He's trying to look to a way to the inside. Not going to happen, though. He's going to have to ride a little bit further off the grass this time. Maybe an unfamiliar line for him into turn 1. But he's all good in line here. Into the S's, down the hill, hopping the curbs. It's incredible to see how aggressive everybody's getting here. They have found the lap time, and that comes from being very, very aggressive into the S's. And you're on inches within. You're on the margin of error. I don't know how I could say that. I was on the margin of error of speech there.
Margin of error measured in pixels here, I feel like it sometimes.
Something like that.
Man, I don't know what's going on. Today, I've had mid-meeting at work, a cough that tried to kill me. Now I've got a case of the hiccups that's trying to disrupt me from commentating. Oh boy, is the action just that exciting today?
Something like that. It's a tough day to be Aljun Kenkipat.
I know. Apparently it is, but I'm loving it. See the headlights starting to be a little bit more prevalent, but blue headlights, interestingly enough, for the Porsches. See, they've dispatched of Jay Steffi. Slightly warmer track conditions compared to the fixed series race, but I think mostly just because we've got less cloud cover.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those summer nights like Glenn Campbell sung about. It's starting to get a little bit cool. It's the 5th of August, so you start to feel, summer is coming to an end. With Phineas and Ferb, they're going to go back to school. You did just see Jay Steffi throwing it off the road there. Very, very courteous from him. Saw the leaders coming by and said, you know what, there's an alternate layout of the track here. I'm going to take that. This, not quite the same thing, though. The 27 of Noah Anderson trying to come down pit lane, I think. Maybe not deliberately.
Yeah, we'll see if we can grab a couple of looks here. We'll first look at Jay Steffi into turn 3. Just getting spooked and running, the wrong line completely in terms of the entry into the corner. Behind what happened after that. Oh, it's down under the Fox Factory Bridge. It's not one but two. Corey Hogan, as well as Noah Anderson that went around, and surely that built up slightly earlier.
Yeah, not a deliberate pit entry indeed. That's Gary Brown up ahead of him, and then Corey Hocken trying to make it 3 wide, and you really couldn't go 3 wide there. Gary Brown does come down pit lane, and the other two not quite so lucky. Anderson did bring it down, so he minimized his losses, but Corey Hocken didn't really have a choice there. He was past the concrete wall, and he couldn't bring it down at that point.
Artie Mercedes, who's now in a Porsche, continuing to confuse and befuddle the commentators, had a pretty good view of that. Now slides up into 19th spot. Into the final 20 minutes of the race. Half complete, still waiting for really any of the leaders to come on down. We do expect them to run as short as possible. They get a better sense of how much fuel they need to put into the car. When, though, would you want to come down? Not if you're mode off, not if you're Jasir or Ovando. What if you're Dominic Olivier, who is sitting there just a little bit further back and biding his time and maybe waiting for some more drama?
Well, that's the question you have to ask yourself right now, because you have to look back to about 15th, 16th in line. You have to look at that little bit of traffic. If Carl Modoff were to pit right now, he would probably come out behind those two. If Dominic Olivier were to pit right now, he would especially come behind those two. So you have to think, do you want to put the other 3 drivers at risk of ending up in traffic and stay out for a lap of your own? Or do you want to put yourself back there, hope that they're still holding each other up enough, and you can get a full speed lap in and jump them all in the pits? There's basically nothing you can do right. There's nothing you can do wrong. You just have to look at the traffic and see if you can find a gap and decide if you want to be an overcutter or an undercutter, because either way, it comes down to the traffic.
I very much believe that the overcut in PRL, it tends to be the way to go. See if the undercut works for the likes of Juan Malagon. Kevin Norris also diving off towards the pit lane. Might be an interesting point to track Vincent Trepanier compared to Kevin Norris, given that they were somewhat close before we saw the once race leader make their way to pit lane. Trepanier dancing through the final corner up and in towards the final sector of the lap, and now as Kevin Norris drops off the jacks, Kevin Norris still waiting. I think Trepigny should have this with the speed.
Yeah, Vincent Trepigny is running 117s right now, so he is flying. And around the outside of turn 1, here he comes. Not going to get by, I believe that's the second of the Seabow cars. That's Juan Malagon, so I don't think Trepigny's up into the top 10 yet, but he's certainly in a good spot. Boris Ovondo's gotten by Beckham Jasir. He's finally said, you know what, I'm sick of riding in line, I'm going to make a spot here.
I think because we're into the pit stop window laps, and that's immediately Boris Ovando down. All he really did was cost, realistically, Beckham Jasir and Dominic Olivier a couple of car lengths there, and now Karl Modov, who is being able to go an extra lap than those behind that have been saving, has got to get the pedal to the metal.
The question is, was it worth it for Boris Ovando? He was about half a second off the leader running in third. I think he was more than half a second off the leader running in second, so he may have got track position, but did he lose more to Karl Modov in the meantime there? And now through the S's, you can see Modov has put the pedal down. He is full speed right now, trying to make sure he clears Boris Ovando. Remember that 10.6 second mark for Ovando? Modov's been saving a ton of fuel in the opening stint of this race, and if it's anything short of an 11-second pit stop, he'll be safely in the lead of this.
Yeah, but that was clean air for the Precision Racing Esports car. Into the 122 of Boris Ovando released, and now sets to work with the undercut. You've got Karl Modov, Beckham Jasir, Dominic Olivier, all the way effectively back to Gonzalo Cortez now. It might still technically be a 6-car fight. They're still saving some fuel. End of lap number 19. Are we about to see them all dive their way right and make their way to the pit lane? Yes, Karl Modov has saved a lot. He's saved enough to go one more lap.
They're going to keep on going. Tirio's going to stay out. Gonzalo Cortez is going to stay out. I don't think anybody's going to be following Boris Ovando in. But Ovando did come out in clean air. He's got 8 seconds ahead of him to Ethan Bass. So he's perfectly fine there in perfectly clean air. He's got to start pushing as hard as humanly possible here, because Modov's back at full speed. He's doing 117s. Jasir's doing 117s. Olivier Tirio, 118s. Everybody's at full push mode right now.
I think the pit stops signal the fact that now they can't afford to save, given that there is a driver who has a set fuel number and knows exactly what they're going to do. That at the bottom of the screen is going to be Ovando cycling past Alessandro Torchio as well as Arnaud Genet. 13.1 seconds for Alessandro Torchio. It's going to be almost 13 as well for Genet. We saw one driver run out of fuel in the Fixed Series race. Hopefully they're not cutting it too close in the Sprint Series.
Well, we've seen drivers run out of fuel in this series as well. Can't forget about race 1. I don't think Karl Modov can forget about it either, because we keep reminding him of it, but he ran out of fuel with 2 corners to go and lost a surefire race win at Watkins Glen. I think he's been a little bit more conservative on the fuel recently, or since then, because he doesn't want to do that again. Maybe add a couple extra tenths of a gallon of fuel so you can be guaranteed to make it to the end, and he hasn't run out of fuel since. But you see Dominic Olivier bringing it down behind, joining his teammate Boris Ovando on this strategy. Tirio's in, Cortez is in. It's just Modov and Jasir going for one more lap.
And so now let's get a sense. Compare it to Boris Ovando, who has gained the most amount of time. You first got to find your pit box. I think Simon Terrio got a bit confused initially lining it up. Now they hit their marks, though. Up on the jacks for some, but only for Simon Terrio are there going to be a couple of tires going onto the car. What was it? 10.6 for Boris Ovando. It's 10 seconds for a moment there for Dominic Olivier, updated to 11.3, but Boris Ovando has already gone, and look at the margin that he's got.
It's a big jump, and on that last lap, Boris Ovando, 117.6. He was 0.3 faster than Karl Modov, so this could be a beautiful move for Boris Ovando. He might be able to cycle out in the race lead here, but has he been pushing too hard is the question. Does he have enough fuel to be pushing as hard as he is? And will Karl Modov and Jasir finally come in this time around? You have to imagine those fuel tanks are running very, very dry. Everybody but these guys and Pucktel has pitted. I expect a hard right here, and yes, indeed. Here comes Modov, here comes Jasir, who comes out in front.
Look at their commitment as well onto the lane. Now they've got to hope. There's no spluttering of any kind. They've got enough fuel to get their way into the box. There's Ovando. What's the margin back to Olivier? It's 1.2, which was, I think, basically Olivier's gap to Karl Modov when he made his way to pit lane. And so 10.6 once again becomes the reference. Karl Modov has been punching the hole in the air. Has he saved enough fuel? 6 seconds and counting, no tires taken for either Beckham Jasir or Karl Modov. Both drivers stationary for more than 11 seconds, and already Ovando through the outside of turn number 1. He will take the lead. Dominic Olivier, though, going to be spat into a fight immediately with Karl Modov.
Side by side into the S's. Olivier not lifting, wiping out the cones. But that did not work out for him. He's going to come out ahead of Jasir. He's going to get back in line. But that was aggressive to try and go around the outside of Modov, and it did not pay off for Olivier. I'm more worried about his teammate Boris Ovando, though, a second shorter in the pits than Modov and Jasir, and his teammate for that matter. Came in earlier, has been running incredibly fast lap times for the past couple laps. Does Ovando have enough fuel to make it to the end?
The gap in time on pit lane almost seems like Boris Ovando thinks we got one less lap than the rest think that we do.
It's possible. I mean, we saw it came down to what, 2 seconds as Urexoy crossed the line to get the white flag in the GT3 fixed race. Anything's possible, but here comes Olivier around the outside of Modov into the chicane. He's got it done. Here comes Beckham Jasir as well.
Beautiful, and Beckham Jasir gets the door slam shut on him for a moment. He was going for the 2-in-1, but Dominic Olivier has climbed to second. That sequence has cost them a second on track, though. It's now 3 seconds up to the leader. Olivier defensive as they swoop through the right-hander of turn 1. Lap traffic coming out of pit lane as well. Everything going on at Road Atlanta.
This is crazy, and this helps Boris Ovando a lot, because if he does need to save a little bit of fuel, look at the gap he has now, 3.5 seconds, and it's only going to get bigger here. Beckham Jasir is not done. Karl Modov is not done. This has been an absolute gift for Boris Ovando, and that strategy, not even getting yourself out of traffic necessarily, because Modov wasn't in traffic, but came in early, pushed, and now he's just got to hope he has the fuel to make it to the end.
10 minutes to go. Let's see if we're going to get as close to the wire as we did in the last race. Remember, our leader crossed the line with 2 seconds left on the clock. Is that the margin for Boris Ovando that he needs? Now 3 seconds back to be able to just release off the throttle that little bit more. Instantly, Dominic Olivier goes defensive. Beckham Jasir wanted to try and cross back underneath, but didn't see the room, didn't want to force the issue. All this while, Vincent Trepinier's charge through the field continues. He's past Arnaud Genet.
I don't think that one was too difficult of a move. Two sort of related teams here with Unit Sim Sports and Advanced Sim Racing, two longtime friends and drivers in the PRL. No harm, no foul there. Beckham Jasir's got back up ahead of Dominic Olivier. Tried to go for it in the chicane, couldn't do it. Eventually got it done in turn 1, and I think that's going to be that tail done there. Jasir should be safe in second. But now can Modov get by Olivier? Can Theriault get by Olivier? Suddenly Simon Theriault's in conversation for the podium.
It is 4 seconds as well between Boris Ovando and Beckham Jasir with 9 minutes to go. Is that a insurmountable gap, or is that going to be something that the fiercely forward car can chip away at lap by lap? We're going to have at the line, never trust the commentator's math, but I would speculate still 8 laps to run. Boris Ovando has still the big question mark over his shoulder about how much fuel is left in that machine. Karl Modov, like you mentioned though, Joey, can't afford to wait too long behind Dominic Olivier. With Trepinier back in 11th, Modov needs to scramble every point that he can. Remember, 5-point splits them in the championship.
The PRL point system, it's basically determined by positions. 4th place for Karl Modov would give him 7 more points than Vincent Trepinier, based on the separation there. Probably only 6, because Trepinier will get pole position points, or actually 5, because pole position gets you 2 points. Either way, it's going to be very, very close. Every single point matters, and Modov desperately wants 3rd here. Look to the inside, look to the outside of Olivier. He's going to have to wait until the end of the S's, and Torquio's in trouble out of the final corner.
Yeah, and the Junkos Hollinger Esports car looks damaged. He's going to pull to the inside of the opening corner and drop out of the top 10. Another one drops here at Road Atlanta. It is old school. Joey mentioned that you can't afford to put a foot wrong. And, well, it was more than a foot wrong and a hard pancake to the inside wall.
That was a weird place to lose it. I wonder if he clipped the grass coming into the corner. Let's see here, coming down the hill. Yep, just a little... Oh, no, didn't actually clip the grass at all. Just got very, very loose coming into the final corner. I think the tires probably overheated a little bit there. and probably extremely or completely unexpected there for Torquio, and there was no saving it once he was fully sideways.
Look at the gap up to Beckham just here. Karl Modov can't afford to wait, but he doesn't go deep under the brakes. Simon Theriault could be Vincent Trepannier's best friend here if he gets in front of Modov and costs him points in the Drivers' Championship.
He could be a good team player here. Out of the final corner, Theriault is closer to Modov than Modov is to Olivier, and Karl's got to defend to the inside in turn 1 because of that. It's going to be safe for Olivier for the moment, but it's not safe back here. Trepanier around the outside of Malagon. Martin Crisp trying to get in as well, but he's in the grass.
And he's going to hold on safely to his Porsche, though. Tires up to temperature. He can control the slide that little bit more. Trepanier back up into the top 9. What a fight back it's been, but that might be all that he can get. Trepanier's off once again. He slides back onto the tarmac, and somehow 9 lives for Trepanier. It will finally come unstuck.
I don't think he's got any real damage. Keep it pointed straight, Vincent. Back it up. Put it in reverse, Terry. But no, all that progress forward from 19th back up into the top 10, and it's all come undone once more for Vincent Trepanier. This is an uncharacteristic race for him. We never see this many mistakes out of Vincent.
And it's meant that, look at the scrambles that you've got now. Ferrari side by side. It's Nick McLaughlin and Kevin Norris. Well, that was aggressive from Nick McLaughlin up the inside of Miguel Angel Fonseca. Norris will squeak through as well. Ryan O'Connor wants to say thank you very much, but now it's the drive off the corner that might give the Mercedes the spot.
Ferrari's going to be good in a straight line here, though. That was quite the dive from Nick. I don't think he intended to be that aggressive, and unfortunately he paid the price for that aggression. Side by side with Ryan O'Connor, both of these guys also racing in the Xfinity Series and the PRL, getting their oval experience and their road course experience. It's going to be O'Connor later on the brakes, though.
Look at the bravery as well to stick it side by side. McLaughlin thought he might have the chance to get the drag up under the Fox Factory Bridge, but not going to play out in that way. Let's check out what happened to Vincent Trepanier then, because, boy, championship leader, what a chaotic race it's been for him. Oh, just too much speed. Porsche bottoms out, understeers, and then it's the rejoin. I'll say rejoin. He's out of control, really, and then Jeremy Gonzalez doesn't necessarily realize where the 87 is going. Can't really do much about it. Door gets slammed shut, and the two come to blows.
Yeah, it's not the worst rejoin in the world. It's just a very, very dangerous place on the track. There's almost never a right answer there, and he wasn't really in control of the vehicle to determine how he got back out on the track. So just a bad situation for him and for Gonçalves. So there may be a penalty coming Vincent Trepanier's way. There could be a minor points penalty for that, and that would hurt him even more in the championship. Because you can't take away a points penalty with a drop week. You can take the bad result away with a drop week, but if you get like 5 points taken away, you got to deal with that.
As it should be. Love the rule.
I don't know how many points it would be. Probably 10, maybe, I think, for avoidable contact. So
gotcha.
In a championship that's only separated by 5 points, that's going to be a big hit.
Yeah, it's going to be a close one. Fernando Yaquez may have just had some technical issues. He is dropping down the timing. It's going to give Trepanier potentially another position. Won't complain about that, but for the Seabao Racing team, they were having a pretty solid run. 2 cars inside of the top 10. Surely going to be quite heartbreaking and frustrating. For the race leader, Boris Ovando, is this him re-entering the championship mix? Karl Modov in 4th position, still has to hold on to that spot as Simon Theriault looks potentially to try and help out Trepanier. A victory here for Ovando, his 2nd of the season.
I mean, ever since race 1, he's been hoping for more trouble for Modov and for Trepanier. And Ovando himself has a 10-point penalty that he's dealing with, because he was the driver who got into Trepanier at Watkins Glen. If he didn't have that penalty, he would only be within within 20 points of the championship lead. So he's hoping, Arjuna, that over the next couple weeks, there's already been a couple of mistakes from Modov and Trepanier. He's hoping that maybe there's one more race where they're hit with a couple of hiccups.
Who knows as well, given that we go to Le Mans, Barcelona, Phillip Island. I think those are 3 pretty wild tracks. Kwoknin and Miguel Angel Fonseca. You don't tend to go door to door through the final corner, but when you show each other respect, you can make it stick. Now joining the fun as well, up the inside. You got Kevin Norris that wants to join, but with McLaughlin still holding the outside line. He will hold the position for the time being, but Miguel Angel Fonseca elbows out, now up to 16th.
And look at the sky in the background. The sun is setting, it's getting dark, the clouds are dark. That is perfect track conditions for all these drivers here late in the race, but not so perfect for everybody going off the road there. That's Jeremy Gonsalves running into trouble, and I think Carl Modoff got off the road as well. Terrio's gotten by him. Yeah,
this is as well those crucial couple of points that Simon Theriault can rob away from Modoff. Helps out Trepignet, inadvertently helps out Ovando as well. We do have 2 laps to go. We are going to hit 31. Has Boris Ovando got enough fuel? That is still the question that I think you and I, Joey, have at the forefront of our minds.
If he makes it to the end, that is going to be maybe the best strategy move of the season. I mean, 4-second lead, shorter pit stop than anybody else, and if he can somehow make it to the end of the race, I am going to be absolutely mystified, and Boris Ovando should get a Nobel Prize for physics or something, because I don't know how this is possible, but it's worked out beautifully for him.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when you really consider it. Kevin Norris now the one in front of Jeremy Gonsalves, courtesy of everything that has happened. You got Ryan O'Connor and Nick McLaughlin in the mix here as well. And again, it's just a bit of a smorgasbord of action. Up through turn 3, the blind entry often leads to drivers missing their lines and slightly running out of the rhythm. Vincent Trepignet in that white Porsche is in 21st spot, and on the back of Nick McLaughlin, he's got a look of focus on his face.
This is going to be a little bit of a throwback here for Nick McLaughlin. He fought with Vincent Trepignet many seasons ago for the GT3 AM title, if you can believe that. Vincent Trepignet started in the amateur class before becoming the titan he is today. So this would be a good confidence booster for Nick McLaughlin if he can hold him behind, and he's going to be thinking about that championship he fought with him again, and going to be back in that mindset.
How aggressive is Trepignet going to be after the 2 mistakes that he's already had today? Maybe not going to be as aggressive as Ryan O'Connor is, trying to go to the outside of Gonsalves. Necessarily the best place to leave yourself. Often now vulnerable to moves from behind. They will cycle onto what is their final lap of the race as Boris Ovando out of turn 7 for the final time. Doesn't seem like he's spluttering in fuel. Timed the pit stop to perfection. 1 second quicker in the box than the entirety of the field. That was a gamble, Joey, that you and I thought would end up on the wrong side of the gamble.
And you can tell he's saving a little bit of fuel here to make it to the end. He's lifting off early here, losing a couple of tenths to Jasir through the chicane. But he has got such a margin that he could basically put it in neutral right now and roll down the hill and he'd still have the win. This is incredible for Boris Ovando.
Boris Ovando brings the Precision Racing Esports team back into victory lane. It's his second of the campaign. Reinserts his name into the equation for the Drivers' Championship. It's Beckham Jasir that flashes the lights and grabs second. Simon Theriault just misses out on a podium with Dominic Olivier grabbing third. Carl Modoff down in 5th, and of course Vincent Trepignet gonna finish at best inside of the top 20. Boy, Road Atlanta across both our races today brought some drama.
Crazy stuff. Ted Lowendick, P11 in that Ferrari. Solid result for him. Ryan Pucktel in the top dozen as well. Josh Spears, P13. I think that's... Oh dear, is somebody out of fuel?
I think that's Ryan O'Connor's Mercedes that's spluttering to the line.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Vincent Trepignet does indeed get a spot in the top 20. But yeah, championship order going to get mixed up as we make our way to Barcelona into the final couple of races of the season. And we thought after qualifying 1 and 2 it looked shiny, but PRL GT3, expect the unexpected.
I mean, how about that for a motto? Put that in the on the forums as the official motto of the PRL. Expect the unexpected. This was certainly the unexpected. He started 4th. The big 3 of Trepignet and Modoff and Jasir thought it was going to be one of them 3 to win the race, but they all got showed up. Simple as that.
Maybe we can put that on a shirt. Not sure if you'll wear it, though.
Nope.
Boris Ovando leads the swarm of Porsches at the front. Again, second victory of the season for him, and we'll see what that does for him in terms of points. Beckham Jasir grabs second, a well-driven race in front of Dominic Olivier, while Simon Theriault 4th position for him. The best of the advanced motorsports entries. Carl Modoff drops to 5th, but he will at least salvage some points, and ensure that this is not such a bad round in terms of the championship equation. Gonzalo Cortez, Diego Morales, Juan Malagon, Arnaud Genet, and Martin Crisp, the rest of the top 10. 11th, the first of the non-Porsches, Ted Lowendick in Nick and Ted's Excellent Adventure number 72. Ryan Pucktel back in a 992 in front of Josh Spears, while Ethan Bass brings the Ford from, what was it, 30th position up to 14th. Remarkable climb in the orbit number 52. Miguel Angel Fonseca in 15. Kevin Norris, Jeremy Gonzalez, Nick McLaughlin, Vincent Trepanier, and then Virus Nasser, the rest of your top 20. Still a handful of cars on the lead lap, including Gary Brown, Justin Delano, Corey Hogan, Alexander Breton, Ryan O'Connor, and Kwok Nin, while Jay Steffi, the first car, 1 lap down, joined by Artie Mercedes, Noah Anderson, and then Keaton Marchesi. 2 laps down for Joseph Carnes, Fernando Yaquez, 4 laps down as we start to get into the used car lot. Alessandro Torchio, Michael Terrafino, Matt Scherf, Marc-Andre Deschardin, Philip Magnon, Sean Dickinson, Nathan Bartley, David Mendoza, and then, of course, the fastest lap going the way of Boris Ovando as well. All those laps ago on lap number 2. I think it goes to show just how much fuel saving we really did see. But Boris Ovando can tell us more about that. He's standing by with Joey Tebben.
Indeed he is. Boris Ovando. We call your teammate Abner Acosta the Tire Wizard. I'm going to have to start calling you the Fuel Wizard, because how in the world did you pull that off? A second shorter in the box than anybody else, and suddenly a 3-second lead. How did you do that?
Honestly, Beckham was saving more fuel than I was at the beginning of the race. I was surprised that he was in the pit so long. I think they might have taken 2 tires. I only took 1 tire. That's a 2-second difference, and that makes sense if they were only. I was only a second faster because I didn't save as much fuel as them. Even Carl was saving a ton of fuel, so that was a tough one to manage the fuel for sure.
It's absolutely crazy to me that you've managed to win this race, and I think this puts you back in championship contention. There was a little bit of a points deficit after that win at Watkins Glen, but with a bad race for Modov and Trepanier, do you think you're back in the championship fight now?
I really hope so. I'm going to continue to battle every single round to get wins, and hopefully Mike can show up next week and we can still battle for that team championship as well.
Well, Boris, congrats on your 2nd win of the season here, and we'll see you next week in Barcelona.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Boris Ovando victorious here at Road Atlanta, and second up, it is who else but Beckham Jasir. The big race of fuel saving, Beckham. Seemed like you and Carl were saving more than anybody. Did you expect to get jumped by Ovando there?
Kind of and kind of not. I did make a mistake with the clutch coming out of the pits, so it did cost me to stay behind Carl. If not, for sure I would have jumped him. But I think if I would have jumped him for sure, I would have caught Boris, because I cut the gap to 2.6 seconds, I believe it was.
Barcelona coming up next week. We know last time we went to a Formula 1 track at Spa, we know who won that race. It was you. Do you think you can get back up there on a Grade 1 track in Barcelona next week?
Yeah, hopefully. For sure gotta do some practicing. Haven't been on that track in quite a bit. But yeah, it should be fun there. Quali will for sure be big there.
Well, we'll let you get practicing. Beckham Jasir, 2nd place. Congratulations, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Beckham Jasir. Maybe we'll call him Barcelona Beckham next week, but we got one more driver to talk to. His teammate Boris Ovando won, and now we've got Dominic Olivier in 3rd. Both of you guys kind of pulled a strategy masterclass there. Boris getting in the lead, you getting back on the podium. What was the plan for the strategy coming into today, and did you deliver like you expected?
Honestly, we didn't really have a preconceived plan. We just kind of went for it. I didn't expect to be that far up as well. I struggled in the early parts of the stint just to hold on to them, and then once Carl backed off and tried to save some fuel, I realized it was game on, and Boris definitely had a little bit more pace than I did. So yeah, it was masterclass strategy from him. I tried to go with him stopping earlier than those other guys, but once I saw that I was matching them on the pit exit, I had to get my elbows out so I can have him get the win. So it was job well done. Happy to be back on the podium after a rough couple of races.
And you've been one of those drivers who's done multiple series this season. We've seen you and Boris in this series, in the F3 series as well. Do you have to kind of balance your practice every week to focus on one car or the other, or can you even it out?
Yeah, man, that's a brilliant question, because it's been tough. Well, at least I started the season really well in both series, and putting a lot of practice in. But it's easy to get burnt out, and I think I suffered from that a little bit, got burnt out a little bit and couldn't concentrate on both. I love the F3, but I put more time into the GT3s, and yeah, it's tough balancing both of them, but I feel like the F3 is much easier to get on pace.
Well, it certainly worked out for you this season. A win in GT3, a win in F3, another podium tonight, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Dominic Olivier rounding out the podium, Arjuna. 3 very happy drivers there. Nobody happier than Boris Ovando. I'm still amazed that he managed to win that race.
Yeah, again, it goes to the fuel mileage, and it's why we talk so often about the fact that you set your stall out with strategy at the beginning. You can save a bit more fuel, cost yourself some time, but it comes back to you at the end. You can't save more fuel once you've burnt it, unless you've got a magic fuel-growing tree in your car. Which, please tell me more about this, because I would like to learn this secret. Next up, we already talked about it with the fixed series, but it's the same for the sprint. We head to the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, to the historic layout, which means the 2 sweeping long right-handers at the end of the lap to bring more speed down that pit straightaway. Joey, after today, good luck. It's going to be a crazy end to the season. This Le Mans, and then Phillip Island to crown our champions. What did we get ourselves into?
I don't know. It's many different countries, many different cultures, many different tracks. I know I can break out my Australian accent for the final race of the season, but I'm going to have to practice my Catalan for next week. I'm going to have to practice my French for Le Mans. It's going to be weeks of education for me, because I got to get all sorts of cultured for Barcelona next week, and it'll be great.
I'm scared, but I'm also now glad that I'm not here to necessarily have to hear your broken Spanglish. However, it's going to be an interesting final 3 rounds, that's for sure. Remember, the final round cannot be dropped. If you want to make a mistake, it's got to come, well, now. Vincent Trepinier's made that mistake. The championship tightens on up. Boris Ovando potentially brought into the mix. For now, we bid you farewell. PRL action, of course, continues on RaceSpotTV, and this weekend, your opportunity to join 2023 Season 4 will be open. Head to PrecisionRacingLeague.com, where you can learn more and get ready to sign yourselves up. Maybe you'll join Joey Tebben on the track. However, he's joined me in the booth for today. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, and we'll see you next week over in sunny Spain, one step closer to crowning our 2023 Season 3 champions.